So this is going. Hi. So if you probably subscribed by now and you weren't subscribed when I initially made this original video that you're gonna see on screen right here, I kind of felt like I had to make this current one out of obligation. Henry Mint is I guess a common reoccurring character on the channel ever since I made a reaction video that, let's just say, it was not very competently made, but Henry has released his map ranking tier list, and out of respect, out of the sea, if the man can cook, I've decided to check it out. Unfortunately, I will not be joined by Mr. Game Design, as unfortunately we have a trigger word, by the way, for the Cod Zombies community. We have JOBs, and our schedules cannot join forces to record this. But hey, hopefully, I can be entertaining enough on my own. And unfortunately, for a big chunk of this video, it's just going to be me watching with very little input, especially when Henry's still going to be talking about the non-Treyarch tracks, fucking whatever, maps. I don't really have a lot to say, and I think it's important to really showcase that, hey, I actually did watch this video all the way through, right? You're not going to hit me with the I didn't watch. I might have watched it a little bit speed up, but that's actually because I got other shit I need to do, and I wanted to make sure that I at least got to finish this video. So hey, here you go, raw, unfiltered, unedited reaction. You can hear my raw thoughts, and I think I proved that this is a good enough reaction. I mean, hey, we're already longer than the original video's length, but hey, I'm gonna put them in the description. I'm gonna put CJ's video in the description, bruh. Y'all can go bother them if y'all think my takes are dog shit. But yeah, go ahead and enjoy it. Bye. Okay, so I'm here because I guess Henry left a little surprise for me on this video. Unfortunately, I'm not joined by Mr. Game Designer or any of my affiliates because trigger word for the zombies community. Why are my eyes so sunken in? Holy shit. I look so tired. But trigger word for the zombies community, people got JOBs, which is an acronym for jobs. Not an acronym. That's okay, so we got no criteria. Let's go.
Black
Let's
Ops
go.
2, as I stated in the Black Ops 3 video, and aside from IW being pretty straightforward story-wise, I really don't know anything about the story in the other developers' games. Some maps I'll have a lot to say, others not so much. Extinction is not included in this because it's not zombies, although to be entirely honest with you, most of those maps would be in the top half of this list if it was.
That's crazy glaze already. But I'm not gonna hate. I'm gonna let him have this because you know what? As someone who played Ghost back in the day, I could not fuck with Extinction. I think I played about 15 minutes and went back to playing BO2. I literally couldn't do it. But hey, hopefully it's gas. Will I ever buy it and try it for myself? Fuck no. But hey, more power to him. More power to him.
Really good. Go find friends to play it with if you haven't.
That is ridiculous. We are not doing that.
Mobile Zombies is also not on the list. Don't think I need to explain that one. Other than those, though, I think it's pretty definitive. Let's get into it.
Respectfully, we're gonna put this shit at 1.5 times speed. Respectfully. I'm sorry.
Coming in dead last, and man, it had some stiff competition. The most vile, pointless, stinky, least enjoyable, and biggest waste of dev time on this list. Some of you may be surprised it's even on the list at all. It's Nightmares from Black Ops.
That's not ridiculous. When I see people try to advocate and want a whole zombies campaign like style game, that's been a take I've heard for so long in this community. People wanting a whole game just dedicated to just going through the events of like whatever Richtofen's talking about in whatever game you're talking, like it exists in, that I've seen this pitch for. Knowing Nightmares and playing Nightmares and experiencing Nightmares, abso-fucking-lutely not. Even though, from what I remember, it's just repurposed campaign assets, just straight up, I am not interested in seeing them attempt a grand scale campaign on with the normal campaign design philosophies in mind. I got no faith in Treyarch, even back then, especially in today's day and age. Fuck no, I would not want no zombies campaign, even in reminiscent of Nightmares. Like Nightmares is such a one and done thing. You play this shit once, like out of sheer boredom. I remember I played Nightmares. I played this shit one time. I even beat it. That shit was trash. I turned that shit off immediately.
Black Ops 3's campaign was already bad, like really bad. This is somehow even worse.
Here, we'll drop you down. We'll drop you down 1.25.
If you haven't heard it, the voice acting for the male player character in Black Ops 3's campaign is some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard. It sounds like the dude isn't even trying. The zombies in this mode also have pre-nerf hit speed and stun lock you like you've been hit with a concussion grenade. It is pure trash. You get nothing for finishing it. The writing in this is god-awful to boot. They even buried this in the game's menus like they were embarrassed of it, and they should be. I give Nightmares a 1 out of 10, the lowest of the low. It doesn't go lower than this one, although honestly I would give it a 0.
That's crazy though. 1? A 1 is low-key. Whoa, I recognize this UI. Oh, his ass about to say something crazy.
This map is here because Treyarch
the Archon, who
great
cares?
idea to take a map they already released, add basically nothing to it, and
Who
make
fucking
the tint
cares?
of the map green. It is irredeemable. After some people thought Vanguard might actually get on the right footing, they just completely gave up with this last map.
That is actually crazy, being there around for that hype cycle of Vanguard, because listen, like, my dad loves Call of Duty. Loves the first COD game, right, that I bought with my own money was Black Ops 6, unfortunately. But before then, every game that I got to experience was because my dad had it, and I would just play it on his shit. This game was so ass. My dad did not own Vanguard. He did not own this fucking game. That's how you know this shit was a 2-pack of dog shit. And that's less because he plays zombies and more so from the multiplayer aspect of it. But like, just in general, this shit was a 2-pack of fucking garbage. What were they cooking? What were they cooking? I remember it looked cool. It looked cool on release. That's all I gotta say about it. I did not touch this shit with a flagpole. Could not be
That's why
bothered.
it's not even worth talking about. 1 out of 10, garbage. Well, would you look at that? It's the Archon's partner in crimes against humanity. People trick themselves into thinking that this map was better than Duranfong because it actually had more on it and a unique environment. The problem with that is, somehow this map plays even worse than all those trash MP maps that were lazily stitched together. What is here is abhorrent. The wonder weapon sucks ass. The Easter egg is pointless and practically non-existent. The dialogue in this map is so cringe, it seriously gives Monty a run for his money. These gods have got to be the most poorly written, cringe characters Treyarch has ever made. It makes Mass Effect Andromeda look like Shakespeare. 1 out of 10. Do I even need to say anything? You all knew this would be here in the first 5 minutes. To answer my own question, no. No, I don't. 1 out of 10. This is the most nothing map Treyarch has ever managed to make. It's a
Bus Depot? Is it more nothing than Farm? I feel like you could take all the BO2 subsidiaries and put them down here. They probably are down here, but I don't know. Like, I've seen people try to like pitch the idea of like, oh, they're like spiritual successors to the fucking World at War maps. And it's like, 1, why do we need that? 2, if they are, these are some of the most downgrade, depressing ass variations one could even ask for. There's a reason why people only remember Town. There's a reason. Who out here is like, even like the transit defenders, or like the transit isn't that bad. Like the I was gonna say the 9/11 apologists, but the people who cape for transit don't even acknowledge this map. So it's like,
struggle to find things to talk about, but one aspect of this survival map that I hate is how they use this massive hunk of junk to cover the hole where the bus would normally drive over instead of just leaving it as is so you could jump over it. It makes this map play like garbage. If it's not gonna happen,
I would argue that while that is true, I think just the layout of it, right? It's at least from my personal opinion and like how I feel about this map. I think 1, it's too cluttered. It's too cluttered. Not like in like a way that promotes, I don't even want to say flow, because there's nothing here. This is literally like when I got an assignment due at 11:59, so I just start throwing shit together. That's what this map is. It's just throwing shit together in like a, especially because you got the fucking burning zombies and I don't know. I just can't do it. It's not even like a way where you could put, if you put PhD hypothetically on this, I still think it's a 2-pack of dog. Just because you get rid of one annoying ass feature does not change that the core issue with the map is that it plays like shit, looks like shit. I'm sorry, all this brown. Like, I know part of it was because of the way that they had to construct the map. I don't give a fuck. At the bare minimum, they could have changed a skybox or something. They could have been like, okay, well, this is Bus Depot before or something. Literally anything. I would have taken literally anything instead of just, hey, this is a closed off section from one of the most poop caca ass maps ever. But I mean, to each their own. Like, is this bottom 10 of all time? Absolutely.
have Jug.
I'm not going to disagree with that notion. I'm not.
anything else on it for that matter, I'd like to at least be able to do cool movement and dodge zombies on it. Really can't do that here. This just isn't enjoyable in the slightest. It is the worst survival map they have ever made. 1 out of 10. I think it could be argued that this is what single-handedly killed World War II zombies for the community at the time. The objectives are bad, the pacing is bad, the round 10 cap for each map is bad, the maps themselves do nothing.
I can't comment on this because my experience with playing World War II Zombies was literally, I thought the first map was okay, and I never touched the rest of it because I was just completely not interested. I was not interested, so it feels so weird because I can only comment really on Exo Zombies if it's here. I can comment maybe bits and pieces on Advanced Warfare Zombies if it's here. Or no, Infinite Warfare, and then the Treyarch game. So like, call me a fake fan. I don't give a fuck. I'm only gonna put my money towards the shit I know I'm going to enjoy, or I'm curious enough to put my money towards it. Unless these games go on sale for $10, which they won't. I'm not spending money on this shit just to maybe enjoy it. Fuck no.
For or with the objective format.
Y'all can keep that shit.
Bad, and the Easter egg is
Y'all
truly
can keep
one of
that
the
shit.
worst. Seriously, the zombie escort step feels like it wasn't even playtested. My guy dies in one hit, and if he dies, you have to restart the entire thing. I respect the ambition of this DLC, but on a fundamental level, none of it is fun or works in any way. Easily.
It's so fucking gray too. Like I maybe this is like part of the atmosphere, but this does not look appealing to me. I don't need zombies to be bright and colorful like how everyone says, but I need something to latch on to, and this is nothing. This is very off-putting to me. This is like fake ass Gears of War. I don't know if that's a good comparison, but like
a 1 out of 10. I'm sorry to all my rebooting Exo enjoyers out there, but Exo Zombies is very bad, and this map is pure filth. Nearly everything a map could do wrong, Infection has it in spades. These survivor escorts waste your time and add nothing to the map other than an annoyance to deal with. Otherwise, all the generators on the map are shut off for no reason.
It's not ridiculous to say this.
Is a meager weapon upgrade for one
It's
gun.
not ridiculous to say
Goliath,
this.
terrible boss. Shoots homing EMP rockets as if not being able to use your exosuit wasn't already one of the hallmarks of this entire horrible mode. And saving the best for last, certain sections of the map are periodically gassed, making it so you can't even go into those parts of the map until it's over.
I gotta ask though, from like if I could ever talk to, I forget his name, but the lead designer of Advanced Warfare Zombies, what were you cooking? What made you decide that sectioning off parts of the map with no like or very little counterplay was a good idea? Because that's, I think, one of my least favorite aspects of Moon. Even though you could, there is counterplay on that. I do not fuck with gating off sections of the map and making you do some arbitrary bullshit to be able to maintain playing in that section. Like, if I want to train in the biodome, let me train in the fucking biodome. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's not good. It's not fun. It is technically interactive, but it's not enjoyable. I'll tell you that.
The best part of this is, once you get to a certain round, you can't go to any part of the map. The bad wonder weapon, bland environment, and lousy Easter egg are just icing on the cake. This map easily gets a 1 out of 10. I genuinely considered including the Mephistopheles boss fight into ranking this map, but it feels so disconnected from the map itself, and it's so bad otherwise, that I didn't think it was fair. This map feels borderline broken with the power round. Like, the slasher that spawns at round 20 feels nearly unkillable. On top of that, to have all these obnoxious enemy types in one map...
Why the fuck is this picture so Why the fuck is that shit so stretched out? It looks wrong. It looks like they didn't crop the image right, but again, I would never in my entire life shoot for this game. So I can't comment on the slander. I can't.
That don't play well together at all. It feels like they were trying to copy Treyarch on Revelations with no thought put into it whatsoever. The quest to get and upgrade the Venom X is really frustrating and way too long, so good luck trying to high around this map without director's cut. This map story-wise also felt like a truly terrible send-off for Extinction. It's downright disrespectful. I gotta give this map a 1 out of 10. It sucks. I put this here mostly out of spite because I truly hate...
You know, let me hear him out before I start talking shit. Hold on.
Hate this version of the map. I went over this in the Black Ops 3 video, shameless plug, but in short, they ruined the shrink ray, Widow's Wine doesn't work with the shrink ray, and BO3 spawn system and hit speed don't work with this map at all. Truly an awful remaster. The only props I will give it is that the Eclipse mode in this version looks pretty. That's it. We're going up to a 2 out of 10. It's not on the same level as the maps before it, but screwing up a remaster is worse than a bad original map.
Can I be honest? I can understand this, and with that in mind, I feel like Origins BO3 is gonna be this low anyways, but like I think I will put it down here. I will put Origins BO3 in like a way like down here in the sense that it completely gutted that map and makes that map completely unfun to play, because Origins BO2 was one of the few maps I actually like attempted to learn on like a not a competitive level, but like understanding like how to play the map efficiently in that speed run format. Even though I never submitted any times, I was dog. But knowing what I know about BO2 Origins and attempting like to play BO3 Origins, I literally can't. I literally fucking can't. I got on that map, right? When I rebought Chronicles, when I finally got a PC that can run it, I got on Origins to get the achievement, and I have not touched it since. Straight up, could not be bothered to play that shit since. It doesn't flow well, and it's such a horrific experience. But I mean, that's been talked about to death. For Shangri-La, I've never been a Shangri-La shooter, so I'm gonna give Henry the benefit of the doubt that it does really is that much of a disservice. But it's like, for me, it's hard to really form an opinion because I don't like Shangri-La regardless. So like, try. But on that note, what I've seen when I see a lot of this is a side tangent, but when I see a lot of the people advocate for remaking the maps in BO3 for a lot of the custom zombies map, no hate to anybody who does that, right? I think the Call of the Dead remaster is like genuinely pretty great all around. But I remember I was playing Mob and I was like, when you put Mob in this game with the way that the zombies function, with how close quarters and fucking cramped Mob is, if Mob genuinely got ported over to this game, I think it would probably be down here. Again, I'm basing this off of like the custom, the fan-made one, which is like kind of hard, and I don't want to slander fan-made creations, but like playing that experience in this game, with how fucking the zombies in this game don't know if they want to be OJ Simpson in the Ford Bronco or Helen Keller, I think Mob, like playing Mob in this game would be so miserable, and that's why low-key I'm happy that it did not get put in this game. And I don't think Blood of the Dead that bad. Hold on, let's save on that propaganda. Let's save on the propaganda. Hold on.
Like, all the pieces are already there, so I find that pretty unacceptable. They massacred a map that already wasn't good to begin with.
That's not ridiculous.
This map
it's
is
not
here
ridiculous.
Primarily because if they were to have
again not ridiculous to say that
zombies with the release of any map, it would have been this one. So the annoying EMZ spam, guns doing no damage, having to pack your gun 20 times, and the way hordes bunch up in this game is super loose and unsatisfying. The chaos of it ironically makes it boring, on top of the other issues the game already has. The music Easter egg is this embarrassingly lazy cut of Flight of the Valkyries because they couldn't afford to, or what's more likely is that Raven didn't even care enough to make music of their own for this map. I just had to mention it because it's so absurd. Aside from that, this map is just bland. Easter egg sucks because it's exo zombies and they're all bad, obviously. Anyway, 2 out of 10. We're moving on. Yeah,
Not ridiculous. Not ridiculous. Not ridiculous.
2.
Low key though, I'm putting the tomb down here. If you like, you could have a great conversation with me, I think the tomb. But it's like, I put the tomb down on here specifically because of what that map represents to me. While Transit is like the potential man, the if and but never is, or never was, right? But for me, I think the tomb is like actively bad and pisses me off because like I think what it actively desecrates over a map and it's Jack's mechanics because it wants to be Origins influence so damn bad without actually having to gut the grit or the fucking presentation of Origins. I think like when I take all that into account of like my own personal biased opinion, I'm putting the tomb down here under Transit. But I don't know, part of it is I'm low-key a sicko and I can get some ironic fun out of Transit. But like that's what a full man lobby. I'm not touching this shit by myself. If I'm ranking like a solo inspired list, yeah, the Transit down here, easy, no questions asked.
And a half out of 10. So this is the first dead ops on the list. I think this one is the worst because it doesn't have the depth and
I believe this is the BO3 one. I don't think this is ridiculous either. I feel like the main gimmick of the BO3 dead ops was the first person, but like I'm keeping it real. I never, even like when I would have summers where I would have like family issues and shit, so I wouldn't have internet, so I wouldn't be able to play with the homies, and I just had to play the Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 2 and 1 offline. Dead Ops Arcade 2, I probably opened maybe 3 times, and it just feels like the main gimmick was, oh hey, it's in first person now, and that really to me was not a grand enough shakeup to want to invest in playing this game over again. If I wanted a Dead Ops experience, I'm playing the first one. Why would I ever touch this shit? Unironically.
Expansion of 3, and I don't have the fond memories of it like I do with 1. I also think the mini games in this one just kind of suck. That shadow challenge early on with the guys who teleport is really not fun either. I don't like Dead Ops that much anyway, so I'm not an expert by any means. The only one I've beaten is 3, but I definitely had the least fun playing this one for sure. 2.5 out of 10. This is kind of a throwaway mode for Cold War. I don't enjoy following the orb. It takes way too long to get even remotely challenging, and as lazy as it would have been, I would have much preferred instead if they just took MP maps wholesale and made them round-based. This mode as it is just isn't it. 2.5 out of 10, total snooze fest.
I think I became fully disinterested in Cold War once Outbreak came out, and so I have very limited experience with Cold War, but again, I can't contest this. I from what I've seen and from what the way Henry's describing it, I would have put it lower. But hey, man, that teach your own. Teach your own.
We went over this with most of Dead Ops 2, but nostalgia only gets you so far. 2 slots higher, that is. This was really just a fun novelty when it came out. I don't think there's anything offensive about Dead Ops. It's a competent twin-stick shooter. It's just we have to compare it to actual zombies maps. So in comparison, I have to give this a 3 out of 10.
Like, imagine having acknowledged that there was an entire whole zombies game being, I believe, Vanguard placed under this. And this is like the side shit you cook up when you got a little extra time, or like you trying to get a bonus points. It's like when you're making a dish and you're putting the frosting on top. That's what I feel about Dead Ops Arcade 1. It's like it's a little frosting on top of BO1 that like makes it a little bit more sweet. Like, oh hey, we included this. But like, imagine that frosting being better than whole full course fucking meals. That's crazy.
Not for me. Burrow is the worst grief map on this list. That's because on this map, nearly every...
Fuck, I don't even remember. For someone who played BL2, I'm keeping it real. Grief was always ass. So I don't have any feeling about this. The only Grief that I really played was probably the mob map, and that was it. So like...
Everything from Buried is available to both teams, and the Paralyzer is even in the box. The overpowered wall buys that are on Buried are here too. There are some really annoying game-breaking out-of-bounds glitches on this map too that were never patched. That's another factor as to why this map sucks. Fundamentally, Grief, as we'll touch on later in this list, is best when both teams need to struggle somewhat. The matches on this map will just never end. 9 times out of 10, most of the people on both teams leave out of boredom. I do wish they took what they made for this map and made it a survival map, but for Grief, it's just not fun to play at all because both teams easily become way too powerful, way too quickly. 3 out of 10. A lot of the BO1 ports from World at War have aged really poorly in my opinion. Noct is no exception. It doesn't have the interesting jank that it had in World at War, and it doesn't have the freer, more open features that it has in BO3. The only thing of note this version even did was add the Thunder Gun and Monkey Bombs, but with zombies being able to hit you while sprinting now in BO1's engine, it makes Noct in particular frustrating and not a lot of fun in this game. 3 out of 10, boring.
Not ridiculous. Not ridiculous.
Not a whole lot to talk about. I like the railing jump you can do to hit the box through the floor, but that's about it. This is a decent Grief map though. I like how small and condensed it is. With 8 players it becomes all out insanity, and without Pack-a-Punch matches don't go on forever and ever. Despite that though, I have to give it a 3 out of 10. Cold take and or hot take, because I know this map is divisive, but I've never liked it at all. It's everything wrong with Lundell Excess wrapped into one map. To keep this short, because I could talk for an hour about what I don't like, the puzzles are bad, the enemies are annoying, the Wonder Weapon does a bunch of things we've already seen before. The gimmick of all the effects being...
you know what? I want to see a Henry BO4 video. I want to see Henry and CJ like get into a slap box in events about how they feel about this game, because I feel like to me that would be great enjoyment. That's what I need. I need a full on Henry and CJ collab so they can bounce off each other. Because I feel like that would be more entertaining than like watching their own perspective. But Dead of the Night at 69 is kind of funny though. I'm not gonna lie. Not like because of 69 nice, but like, man, people. The map that Churik, I think this is one of the few times they've unironically like completely yeah, they did shadow drop this. They put this out here and left that shit to die. Holy BO4, you deserve so much better. I'm so sorry.
Random is pointless because they all insta-kill. It's the illusion of depth because they weren't very creative, and that's exactly how this whole map feels. I hate the layout too, and unlike most of BO4, the color is really lacking on this map. When I go out to that cemetery or the greenhouse, I feel like I'm playing Cold War. It's that lacking in personality. For me, it's a 3 out of 10. I really dislike this map. Feel free to roast me in the comments. Now, I'm not gonna lie, despite our first playthrough video seeming less than optimistic when it first released. Alright, Here we are. I'm already bored. I actually did grow to enjoy MWZ as many others did during the launch period and even into the first season. It felt genuinely new and refreshing despite just being on a Warzone
Again, not gonna comment on this because at this point in my life, I realized it was a bad idea to continuously buy Call of Duty games. So
map. What ultimately killed this game and why it's so low on this list is a subject that many don't talk about. Most here on YouTube just pretend that MWZ was always bad and that they always hated it. Why this mode went from surprising success to flop within the first few months is very simple. It's the updates and content drops. They were awful. From not patching game-breaking glitches that defeated the purpose of even playing the game, copy-pasting the same portal gimmick from the first season over and over with the same repetitive item hunts, and filling them with schematics that weren't even remotely worthwhile, not adding any new areas or contracts to the main map, and refusing to reward players with any of the story content past what was offered with the main story missions when the game launched. It felt like right after Season 1, they just gave up on MWZ, only doing the bare minimum to fulfill obligations throughout the rest of the year. I genuinely think this mode could have been great if it were nurtured and given proper attention, but as it stands, I have to give it a 3 out of 10. This game was a real bummer. Like I said with Noct, these BL1 remasters don't have much purpose anymore. Verrucht is especially bad because it has the Winter's Howl, and you obviously can't even pack it. Like, what were they smoking? 3 out of 10. It's the best of Vanguard, but it's still Vanguard. I didn't really like the Easter egg in this, and the dialogue and writing is still just god-awful. The engine this mode runs on still feels half-baked. You can sometimes glide through zombies like they don't even have collision. There's only one new area, and that doesn't really add much. This map is very below average, and it's not even the best version of Shino Numa. I have little to no fun playing this, just because of how the game is.
I'm willing to bet on my firstborn son. Willing to bet on my firstborn son that Henry's gonna say the best version of Shino Numa is a World at War.
3.5 out of 10. People in the comments are going to pretend this is a hot take, like we live in a universe where all the Cold War round-based maps aren't all basically the same. This map is soulless, has no color outside of a dark ether you're in for all of 5 minutes. Noct is just there for fake nostalgia. The wonder weapon is a BFG from Temu, and the variants aren't much better. The Easter egg is lousy, and Orlov at the end can't even die because they wanted disabled people to be able to complete their first Easter egg. Also, pet peeve, the coffin dance is annoying and takes way too long, and the fact that the entire team is thrust into sitting through this crap because one guy shot these orbs is terrible game design. The only enjoyment I had on this map was camping at the top of Noct with that door closed, but even that gets old fast. This map also, most importantly, marks the beginning of the modern zombies era, and for that I will never forgive it. 3.5 out of 10. Some will call this recency bias, but I really don't think this is a good map. The quests aren't good at all. I despise the plating system in BO6, and even golden plates are not enough to make me ever want to play this map. The reuse of old content feels like fake nostalgia, and I hope and pray that older fans don't actually fall for this stuff. That Origins music that plays when you go into the pack room made me cringe extremely hard. It's completely unearned. Also, the annoying character they shoehorned into this map that constantly talks to you is also cringe and completely kills whatever vibe the map.
Also, on that, like, I feel like he's gonna mention it, but I'll bring it up here. Is for the map that has probably, I think, the most color in Black Ops 6. It looks the most dog shit. Like this skybox texture, I feel like maybe it's the footage. Do I have it at like 720p? I'm not giving y'all money, bro. Fuck that. Enhanced bitrate. Oh, we can enhance something, buddy. Like, I don't know. Like, and as like a 1080p is not that bad kind of guy, this looks like shit to me. This whole area has looked like shit, which is so like upsetting because I at least wanted to see what they can cook with the dark ether, but just the whole skybox and like visually and color wise, this whole thing looks like fucking dog shit.
Map was going for. That seems to be a modern zombie staple. Have a super lol XD quirky character talk to you every 5 minutes, otherwise they think you'll get bored. It's like TikTok in character form. Pure trash. Zombies feels like it's trying to ape Marvel now with dumb story crossovers and member berries. This map isn't even a fifth as good as the maps it references, and it's a void of its own soul and identity. I would have rather waited the 2 extra months to get a map that was worth at least something.
Also, they could have just put the... I was playing with one of my... Ironically enough, you know, I gotta bring him up. I was playing with Mr. Game Design, Henry's favorite zombies individual, and the conversation we came to is what was the purpose of the tomb and why does it exist? I feel like you could easily take a bunch of these aspects, throw it maybe... I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with that, but I feel like you could incorporate some of these elements. Obviously not the ice app. We don't need that shit. We don't need the Origins music. But you could take bits and pieces of this and throw it in a Citadel and make it a slightly more bigger map instead of just feeling like one big grandiose circle. Maybe. I don't know. That might be a crazy take, but I feel like that you could have incorporated like specifically the underground elements into it. Now that's provided that Treyarch could actually find an interesting way to incorporate those elements in the tomb, which or in Citadel, which knowing them, they probably wouldn't have. But hey, I don't know. I just don't think this map should have existed, especially when we know that Janus Towers, our next map, is gonna be the last one, meaning that post launch, BO6 got 4 maps, which is the standard, and one of them was like if they drop nuke. Like imagine during like the peak of zombies, right? I'm not a BO3 purist, but like imagine if they dropped the giant mid DLC cycle. That's what it feels like playing the Tomb. Like for people who defend this map, because I remember the community was like, there was a good chunk of people who were like, oh guys, it's just the in between map. It should get like, dude, holy fucking shit. If they dropped the giant mid BO3 DLC cycle, people would have been mad. They would have been fucking furious. But to each your own.
3.5 out of 10. And honestly, those 2 extra points are just for golden plates, nothing else. This has pretty much the same problems as D Machine. The only difference is I like the No Man's Land-esque opening to the map, and the Crystal Axe is kind of cool. Although the melee part of it, when it becomes a 2-hit kill in the higher rounds, it's a lot less effective and not as fun to use. A horrible difference from D Machine, though, is that this whole map, the environment, the skybox, were all ripped from a campaign mission wholesale with practically no changes. And the lazy band-aid fix they applied to this map was to put zip lines and teleporters everywhere because they were seemingly too incompetent to be able to logically connect the parts of the map together. The Easter egg is also the most pitiful Easter egg in Cold War, which is really saying something, and the boss fight is barely a boss. I'm going to give this map the first 4 out of 10. This map is another disappointing finale. They really hyped the game up with the lore of the Raven Lords and a lost city buried under ice, and you get here only for it to be this really bland, boring ice cave that's really close to the surface with a bunch of uninteresting ancient junk everywhere. The quests to get the wonder weapons on this map are some of the worst, most excessive quests ever put into zombies. Like, the only reason they made them that way is because that's basically the entire Easter egg. This map seriously lacks content. The weapons themselves are really strong, but they're so comically overpowered to the point where pressing one button is all you need to do for high rounds. I wish I was exaggerating. Best part of this map is the boss fight, which if you do legitimately, it is very difficult and well designed, but aside from that, there really isn't anything else to offer on this map. 4 out of 10. Another Cold War map. I'm running out of things to talk about. Mauer aesthetically is the most interesting of the maps in this game because you trade bland military bases for bland streets and a bland subway. At least it felt like progress at the time. The only, and I mean only reason this is higher than D Machine and Forsaken is because this map's Easter egg is decent. It wouldn't even be remotely passable in Black Ops 2, 3, or 4, but for Cold War, it's decent. Still though, I hate the fact that you need to use Silver Protector number 3, GI Unit number 4 to stop the train. That step is finicky and awful. Everyone seems to be infatuated with Civil Protector number 3. I'm not really sure why. He's another lazy reuse of assets with quirky dialogue for 12-year-olds, but hey, at least he gets a mohawk, right? It's great too how similar to D Machine, all of the Wonder Weapon upgrades you can pick up are worse than the base one. You could take the glass half full approach and say they're free ammo, but free ammo shouldn't make my gun worse. That's why at high rounds you don't even pick these up, and with Mule Kick, which was introduced in this map, ammo doesn't matter anyway. They're just pointless and they suck completely. So why are they there? It would have been a nice touch for the Cerberus to have 3 different voices based on the Requiem crew, but even after BO6, I don't like any of these characters, so it means I have to hear cringe dialogue while using the Wonder Weapon on this map. So yeah, it's actually not nice at all. Also, if it weren't for that floating orb, which really isn't that creative, let's be honest, it would just be another bland laser pistol. Been there, done that. Even the Boom Hilda is more interesting and fun to use than this Wonder Weapon. This map gets a 4 out of 10. It really only gets those points for the Easter egg. Otherwise, it'd be lower on this list. It's barely different to the other Cold War maps, and yet it's heralded. No idea why. The environment is kind of cool. I think the spawn room is really pretty with the rain pouring down while in the middle of the ocean at night. It's the closest Exo Zombies gets to having an interesting location that I want to know more about. The Trident is a cool and thematically appropriate wonder weapon. I like the ricocheting aspect of it, and it feels somewhat strong, at least by Exo Zombie standards. This map also has the really strong DLC box guns from Carrier with a few cool new ones thrown in like the Blunderbuss. Unfortunately, this map just can't escape how bad the
Blunderbuss mention. That's my only point. That's my only point I want to bring up. Blunderbuss mention. That was one thing I'll give Advanced Warfare is I love using the Blunderbuss. That was it though. The only weapon in that game I wish ever came back simply because I liked using it, you know. But again, I don't really got input because I don't have fond memories of this map and I don't remember them enough to really comment on them. But I mean, I don't really know if we're going off 4 out of 10 is like a 5 is the average or like 4 out of 10 where 7 is the average. Because that's going to change a lot of how I believe Henry's interpreting this, but I could be wrong.
mechanics of Exo Zombies are. The EMZs totally ruin the tight hallways of this map, meaning there's only really one good training spot. The Easter egg, especially, is trash, and the double feature you unlock for completing it is one of the worst modes in Zombies history. The forced boss fights are also very not fun. 4 out of 10. It's just kind of nothing of a map, really. They didn't change much at all from that really disappointing reveal of BO6 where people were able to upload full unedited gameplay of this map a few months before release. This map is flat and uninteresting. Easter egg is a glorified wave defense, and they buffed the jet gun to the point where it's overpowered and kind of just makes the whole gameplay loop boring. People who pretend this map got some kind of major glow up from when we first saw it will never not be funny to me. It was disappointing then, it's disappointing now. 4 out of 10.
I feel like a lot of the inflated opinions about Liberty Falls, or Liberty Balls, but I feel like a lot of that stems from the fact that, especially around the launch of this game, the main thing you were doing for like content was grinding camos, which I have feelings about that. But because Liberty Falls made it so efficient to grind camos on, especially when they added director's mode, or I think it was there at launch. I'm fucking whatever. When they figured out the strategy of like kind of min-maxing director's mode, that is why people enjoyed Liberty Falls, was specifically because it was easy to grind camos on. Nothing more, nothing less, right? If this 2-pack of maps was released back during, we can say through the Glaze or Black Ops 3, niggas would rip Liberty Falls to shreds and gas up Terminus. Now I'm the contrarian because I think both maps are kind of ass, but to varying different levels. Again, if camo grinding was not in this game, we would not be talking about Liberty Falls outside of, oh, the jet gun is back, and then getting mad at zombie YouTubers who sat there and like, we're getting the transit remaster. I promise. I swear on my third son's left nipple, we're getting the transit remaster. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of weird shit going on there in BO6's launch, but whatever.
If the Winter's Howl were just good, I could put this a lot higher, but it really just isn't that fun to play these days. The thing I like most is that you can crouch jump through these windows in the labs, and, you know, the concept of the map is great, but let's be honest with ourselves. I don't want to play 5. You don't want to play 5. Nobody you know wants to play 5. It's just how it is. If it weren't for Castro, Kennedy, Nixon, and I guess McNamara, he's there too, this map would not be remembered fondly. 4.5 out of 10 is what I honestly think it deserves. Never cared for this map, even in BO1. Easter egg is good, at least it was back in the day, but now if you've got good teammates, you can bang through it in like 20 minutes. The JGB is a great and iconic wonder weapon. It actually functions in this version. That wonder weapon alone is why Shang is this high, but playing this map has always made me not happy, especially in co-op. Everybody just runs around like chickens with their heads cut off, and the layout is really not good. Should also be said that opening pack is a nightmare with randoms. The mud pit also is one of the most evil and sadistic areas they've ever made. 4.5 out of 10, it's right there with 5. Nobody wants to play it. I'm sorry, the numbers speak for themselves. I think a good chunk of the people watching haven't even played this. It's a pretty bland environment.
That's
For the
true.
longest time, people thought this was the only map you could get the Sword of Barbarossa on until somewhat recently. And after that discovery, it kind of killed the entire reason to play this map. It's just a circle, and that's really it. Also, this mini quest you have to do to shoot the symbols for this dinghy to pack the melee weapons is dumb. I need to pull up a chart to do it every time. It's very annoying. This map is not worth spending a ton of time on. It isn't very good. 4.5.
It's pulling up a chart to have to do this one step. Is that a fault with the map because you haven't played it enough to memorize it, or is it because of the fact that you just don't like it? Because I can make that case about Origins. I can make that specifically Origins. I would say maybe not just specifically Origins, but I feel like the thing with Origins that like if you play that map enough, especially me when I was grinding Origins to beat it for the first time, with like my not fully developed, but like my slightly more developed brain, like it got to a point where I was doing the steps without having to look at the guide. And maybe you could argue that's because of how the symbols on the Origins are so distinct that at a certain point it will just start to click in your head. But I could be wrong. I think I don't know, maybe if the gameplay footage showed what the symbols look like, I would have a different opinion. But shrug. That's all I got.
Half out of 10. This is the only Onslaught side mode I decided to include because it actually fixes some of my main issues with the regular mode. Instead of the moving orb, it sits in the middle the entire time and you have access to an entire map. And because of that, the surges go really fast. Also, Pack-a-Punch chalices and perks are really spread out. It actually makes this a decently challenging mode. If you go down late into the game, you really need to try hard to come back. Ammo mods are also really rare in this mode, which I like. It's such a simple change, but it makes this entire mode a lot more enjoyable. Still though, I have to give it a 5 out of 10. It's a fun distraction, but it's still on MP maps, and I kind of just wish it were round-based instead. in
this is the
100
first
zombies at a
5.
time. It's fun every once in a while, though, even if it is kind of forgettable.
Okay, cool. We moving up.
This is probably a lot higher than most people were expecting. This mode came about because after Warzone blew up, Activision forced Treyarch to scrap the sequel to Blackout they were working on. A tragedy because Blackout was great and Warzone is pure garbage. Verdansk was and is a terrible map. I don't care what anyone says.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I do not get the Warzone appeal. I've never understood it. I believe the one time my friends tried to convince me to hop on was, I believe, once they added proximity chat. I remember it was Thanksgiving. I was sick and I was working. That was like the first holiday season I ever worked in my life. And I remember I was feeling fine. I was gradually getting better. I remember I was playing Sonic Frontiers that morning, and then they were like, yo, Malcolm, hop on. So I hopped on. Worst headache in my fucking life. I was on my deathbed practically. That's what it felt like. And I don't know why. The moment I stopped playing, I felt so much better. And I'm gonna blame this game. It was entirely this game's fault. Let me shift this over because I feel like I should have done that way earlier in the video. Yeah, fuck it, that's fine.
That aside, I think a lot of the people who really hate this mode are just playing it wrong. Because of how loot drops scale with progressing through worlds, side objectives on World 1 and 2 are just completely pointless. They give you absolute junk, and the rate for wonder weapons is extremely low. If you spend 30 minutes on these first 2 maps doing absolutely nothing, that's a you problem. I do think there is genuine fun to be had here, if, and it's a big if, you play this mode fast. The world skips you can do, too, by shooting the portal generator help immensely, even though you can only do it twice. You can play through World 1, blitz through it, do World 2, then skip to World 4, do 4, then you can skip to 6. Within 15 minutes, you already have super...
You know, I just thought about it. Isn't it crazy that Black Ops 3... No, it did. I was gonna say, I think all Treyarch games except the World at War maps have shown up, which I think is... I definitely think people are mad about that, but so far in this video, I've not seen anything completely egregious for people to be mad at.
Sprinters, loot sources have a high chance for wonder weapons, and the objectives actually become tough and interesting. The holdout objective in particular becomes a real highlight. It can become a real struggle just to make it through some of them. Also, the super sprinters in these open areas give it a 28 weeks later kind of vibe, and I really enjoy it. The Legion boss fight, though, is very overrated. The only difficult part is if you down at any point, which is honestly pretty easy to avoid. Where this mode falls flat, though, is even though they added objectives throughout the lifecycle, there still aren't enough. You will eventually loop to doing the same objective on the same map. Playing this mode with randoms can also be a massive buzzkill because of the voting system. Guys who spend 45 minutes on World 1, even after doing all the objectives, are infuriating. Another big thing too would have been making unique zombies themed maps for this mode and putting mini Easter eggs on them. It would have gone a long way towards making even hardcore zombies fans who hate Outbreak enjoy this mode. Because of those things, while I don't think Outbreak is awful, it does leave a lot to be desired, and just like MWZ, I really do think there's a lot of potential here. The loop of this mode, when you get into it, is enjoyable. But without a lot of unique content, I really have to deduct points, so for that, I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10. This map has grown on me a tiny bit over the years. It's definitely a lot better than Transit.
Die Rise, it's high. But I can't even because I think Die Rise, unlike Transit, I unironically have fun on fucking around with the Sliquifier and using the trample steam. But Die Rise is high, is like low key. I can't even say it's low key crazy. Like, am I playing Liberty Falls over Die Rise? No. Am I playing The Tomb over Die Rise? Absolutely not. Low key, I'm not. It might be crazy. I'm not playing the Shattered Veil over 5. Or not over 5, over Die Rise. I'm keeping it real with you. I feel like it has to come up because I think the community is like, they glazed the fuck out of Shattered Veil just because it wasn't abysmal dog shit. Even though I know in about a good year and a half, people are gonna look back at all of BO6 and be like, man, this is like one of the worst games of all time. Which is not ridiculous to say that, but I don't know.
Don't let anybody give you that Die Rise is actually worse than Transit nonsense. Yeah, the elevators are annoying, falling off the map is annoying, and Who's Who being a dumb perk on the wrong map is lame. But despite all of that, the amount of fun I had back in the day trolling on this map is truly unparalleled. This is the best trolling map of all time, hands down. It's not even close. Between putting trample steams in sneaky spots to fling people off the map, standing in front of elevators so people couldn't get off, shooting the Sliquifier near ledges so people would slide off, standing near jumps to body block people so they'd fall to their death, it is truly endless. That joy alone is why this is probably higher than it should be in all fairness. But those experiences are ones I could have only had on this map, so I have to go 5.5.
The craziest part is Henry saying all this when I know damn well a different individual would watch this video and then, like, for all those same reasons, Die Rise is bottom 10. I don't disagree. I think this map is fun. I think it's really fun, but I'm surprised considering how much Henry has talked about not fucking with the casual experience and like playing the map with randoms, about how they can dick him over. Maybe because he was in the power, he was the one whipping them and shit. Maybe that's why he enjoyed it, but I don't know.
Out of 10. Higher than it probably should be, but it's brought me so much joy over the years. This is another one that's higher than people would expect, but I enjoyed Dead Ops 3 somewhat. As mentioned previously, this is the only map that I've finished. I really like the Wilds area and the general expansion in this one. It really does feel like a game within a game as opposed to the other two Dead Ops, which just really felt like side modes. I think the minigames in this one are actually pretty good for the most part. Adding a first-person mode and save states too is great. While that may annoy some hardcore Dead Opsers, I really don't care. First person makes it play completely differently, which is why I was still able to enjoy it. Still though, I do have to compare it to other Zombies maps, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I had fun playing it though.
So we're in the positive range.
And you really don't like Dead Ops,
Positive
you should try
range.
the first-person
Okay.
mode. It's a pretty good time. This is here because I like Shinonuma. That's pretty much it. However, just like Noct and Verrucht in this game, it sits in this weird middle ground between World at War, which has the weird 24 zombies around thing that makes it stand out, and BO3 where you can actually pack a punch, and it just kind of all around plays better. Still though, this version adds monkey bombs, which is pretty cool, and it keeps the atmosphere from World at War, so I have to give it a 6 out of 10. Not really worth dwelling on. This is by far and away the best Grief map. They knew exactly what they were doing when they made this. Not having Jug on this map was the best decision they could have possibly made. It keeps you on your toes, makes things sporadic, and any team could fall at any moment. You could also get into those situations where
Like, look at the map layout. You put this shit in BO3, you're gonna be fucking miserable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Fail over and over again, and it's really the closest to how Grief was meant to be. Not to mention the layout works really well for this mode. You have the acid trap and the fan trap sitting next to both of the box location, making them perfect to kill the other team with when they go for it. The narrow walkways with no railings, especially the one leading to Pack-a-Punch, are perfect for knifing the other team off of. Putting PhD on this map was also genius because buying it and packing your M1911 gives you something tangible to work towards, and that will help immensely because of course you don't have Jug. Similar to Burrow though, I wish they took what they made here and gave you a simple survival map as well, but that didn't come to pass. Still though, it's a Grief map and you need other people to play it. That's its biggest sin. I have to give it a 6 out of 10. The core mechanics of Exo Zombies are still wretched and not very fun to experience, but Carrier is a passable map. The Limbo is a cool wonder weapon, and as mentioned with Descent, this map added a few really powerful box guns that aren't ruined by the awful pack system in this game. They actually do damage. Wow. There's also 2 decontamination pads instead of 1. It makes those rounds slightly less awful and a waste of time. The layout in this one is okay, and unlike Descent, there's 3 goodish training spots instead of 1. Unfortunately though, every few rounds you have these Atlas guys who shoot you and plant bombs. It sucks, but they're easy to deal with. It really is the mechanics of this game that drag this map so far down. I have to give it a 6 out of 10. This map can still be fun to play today. It was the first Zombies map I ever played. I was that empty-headed 8-year-old
I didn't. No, it was about Shinonuma. Shinonuma said my firstborn son, he's gonna put the world at war. Highest out of the 4 versions. So
squeaker who couldn't get past round 8 yelling in the Xbox 360 lobbies. Sure, zombies can't hit you while sprinting, but that feels more jank than fun, and none of the other World at War maps have that. In World at War, they were updating the mechanics of the mode from map to map, and not across the entire game like you'd see in updates and patches later on. So in Noct, there's a lot of things missing, like how the nuke doesn't give you any points, insta-kill only gives you 60 points per kill no matter how you kill the zombie, zombies can't hit you through boards, etc, etc. It makes this map a weird time capsule in a way. A lot of those things also carry over to Verrucht as well. Side note though, I do feel the value of this map inadvertently goes down every time they shamelessly copy-paste it into another game for seemingly no reason. Anyway, OG Noct.
I would disagree because the OG Noct is still like its own unique experience. I like, even though like it's showing up in Cold War and like technically BO2, I don't think those really the value from it because I can differentiate them between the original experience. So like this to me, that point is such a non-issue, but I mean,
I don't know, 6 out of 10. I really don't have the urge to go back to it very often these days. This map made it high-ish on the list because it has one big advantage. This is the only World War II map to not have whistlings on it. Thank God. Now, they're not as annoying as some special enemies are, but I get BO6 syndrome from the fact that they're on every other map. But this map does have some downsides. The boat rocks left to right periodically, and there are 2 vehicles that can kill you if you're in the way. There's also this really terrible trap in the pack room that shocks half the floor, and I swear to God, zombies just run right through this thing. It does absolutely nothing. Aside from that, this map is fine, perfectly average, fun map to mess around on. Gotta give it a 6 out of 10. This is really the only Cold War map I can stand to play without falling asleep. Not really a ringing endorsement, but there are some things I like. First off, this is the only map with mimics that does anything even remotely cool with them in the map itself and in the Easter egg. I actually like the Orda defense rounds. They give much needed variety on this map because the core gameplay of Cold War typically has me comatose before round 40. I think the Reike is a cool wonder weapon and is fun to build. If you hate it, you're bad. I'm sorry. Another hot take, I guess, I think this is the only halfway decent main Easter egg in this game. The steps actually feel like puzzles, including the dartboard step for building the Reike, which people hate for some reason, and actual things happen on this map during the Easter egg, and yes, I think the mimic step is actually creative and pretty good. However, There's some really sucky parts to this map. The environment is still a bland military base. The spawn room is completely ripped from the campaign with barely any changes made to it, which is a disappointing hallmark of pretty much every Cold War map. While I do quite like the Easter egg, the final boss is absolute garbage. Probably the worst final boss to an Easter egg that they've ever made. Firebase also marked the return of the Mangler from Black Ops 3, the consequences of which we are still living with today. This map also commits to a major design fail with the Wonder Fizz, where it's just in the spawn, right next to Pack-a-Punch. Every Cold War map after this would also commit to brain-dead Wonder Fizz locations, so to wrap this up, Firebase is okay, honestly kind of subpar, but to me it's the only mainline Cold War map I can stand to play. I have to go with a 6 out of 10.
I'm so upset they took away some of the freedom of expression. I don't want to say freedom of expression, but some of the movement I saw in like early Cold War, specifically I believe with the size, you could like jump onto certain sections of the map early. Like, I don't know, like, you could argue it fucks with progression, but I'm a big fan for sequence breaks and like shit you can do that's outside of the box. And I believe once they patched that shit, like my interest in Firebase Z completely went down. But again, I'm not gonna comment on this. I do see Kino, and nothing. This one time, I'm probably gonna agree with everything he says about Kino, because Kino is like, when you played it back in the day, you probably thought it was the greatest shit ever. But like now, when we have so many different maps that do so many different things, it's like, well, what do you bring to the table outside of probably being the map that a vast majority of the community learned how to train?
Durice, but worse. Kino is Durice, but worse. Nova Crawlers suck too, they always have. Boring map, overrated, 6 out of 10, that's it.
I think Nova Crawlers alone, to me, put this below Durice. Even though, like, I did, because in Durice you could camp. Where are you camping on Kino? And like, I fuck with maps where you can play them in different ways, right? You have different like strategies that are efficient. Even though like you could argue that camping on the catwalk is not fun, but that's like the single most iconic camping spot in the franchise. With Kino, what do you have? You don't really got that, so it's like, can I disagree with that? No, not really.
That's right. This is nowhere near the worst map of all time, but it's not that exciting either. I thought this was the perfect map for the middle of the list because it's just so okay. It's perfectly okay. It doesn't have highs or lows, just mids. Easter egg is kind of difficult, but perfectly passable in my opinion. Nothing really stands out about it though. People say there are too many escorts, but in reality there's only one, the Whistling. The other two are basically just puzzles, so I really don't get why people say that. The boss fight is kind of good with these Power Ranger mutilars. I like the challenge of it. The one phase in the U-boat pin with the fire on the ground is really mean and tough in a good way. Ripsaw is pretty decent if you do the second upgrade, which most people forget about for some reason. It's a pretty solid wonder weapon. You just need that second upgrade. So yeah, this map is fine.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Darkest Shore is the subject of people calling a truly mediocre map bad, or even the worst, for no other reason other than trying to look different. It's pretty cringe. Another map that doesn't really bother me, but isn't as bad.
This map always looked like shit to me. I'm sorry.
Content though, I gotta say, it's a big nothing of a map, really. There are some pretty bad traps you can repair and some buildables that people exploit for high rounds, but they're really not that good. I do like the mind control buildable that makes a bunch of turn zombies though. That's about it. What partially saves this map for me is actually the Easter egg. Yes, I like the chem step. That's because unlike most people, I actually know how to do it. It's really not that complicated. But when you task one of the most supposedly driven and dedicated communities to do, dare I say, basic math, they lose their minds and call the whole thing trash.
I feel like, to a lesser extent, like whenever I think about like Terminus and like how every time I would try to play it with like some of my homies, and then they would sit there and they were like, well, let's just pay to do 5K. It's like, let me do the basic fucking algebra. Let me do the basic algebra. It's not that damn hard. But I don't know. I like silly shit that was like, okay, you might have to think a little bit outside, not outside the box, but like do something untraditional, you know, like having to actually utilize your brain, because you know this is an M-rated game, so they're assuming you know how to do basic arithmetic. But again, to each your own.
Like the creativity of it. There's really nothing like it, and let's be honest, there probably never will be again. The concept of mixing chemicals and ingredients together to make the bomb really fits the 50s monster movie aesthetic. I also really like the boss fight for the most part. The laser maze at the end is pretty funny. Seeing teammates fail it over and over when it really isn't that hard gets me every time. Having to put the bomb code at the end too gives a nice rush of adrenaline, and I like how if your teammates are bad, you can literally hop over the bomb and do their code for them. It's a huge flex. A big negative I have with this map, though, is that the Ghosts and Skulls quest on this map is truly diabolically awful. And the game itself, Skull Hop, is one of the most frustrating, barely functional, gimmicky pieces of garbage I've ever played in Zombies. The whole thing is actually way harder than the main Easter egg. I hated every second of it, but I had to do it for an achievement if you're wondering why. Whole thing makes no sense when the map itself is actually really easy, meaning that the permaperks from it are never needed in any scenario. I have to give this map a 6.5 out of 10, a tiny bit above average. You can tell in this map that it's where the budget for zombies in this game disappeared. The 3 maps before this one, whether you like them or not, had way more going on in them and actual licensed music. All in all, Attack was a pretty disappointing map when it came out. Shameless plug, but pretty much everything I've ever thought about this map,
Not ridiculous.
I put in the Black Ops 3 video.
Not ridiculous.
Link in the description. I guess one
Not
small
ridiculous.
addendum that I'd make to that is, I guess we know why the Flogger is in Origins now. That's because it was, until it wasn't. Then it was again. Very cool Treyarch. Anyway, this map is mediocrity incarnate. Bad send-off for BO3. If you want to hear more about it, again, link in the description. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that for every BO3 map. It's just Rev. There's really nothing else to say. Score, 6.5 out of 10.
Real talk. Well, here's Shattered Veil. In my personal opinion, I'm putting Rev lower. I think Rev, to me, especially for what it represents in the grand scheme of things, the consistent pandering of nostalgia and how that's going to look in the future. When I take all that into account and I think about what Rev truly represents, I feel like to me that makes Rev worse looking back on it. Especially because back then I played Zombies on Xbox, so I got to watch the whole community have fun for like a good 2 weeks, and then have that like ending cutscene be revealed of like fucking the cycle being like confirmed and shit, and like having to sit there and be like, wow, this kind of fucking sucks, you know. Definitely was devastating. And then eventually when I did get my hands on playing Revelations, actually having like to be able to form my own opinion, be like, yo, this shit is actually trash. I love that shit is Blundell Easter egg design that people love to gas up at its fucking worst. And this is coming from someone who actively does not like a lot of the Easter eggs in zombies. I think they're just, I don't want to say not fun, but like they can range from needlessly complex to the one stupid ass step that shouldn't fucking be in there, right? But I don't know. To each your own. To each your own.
This map is okay. I really don't get the hype. I think Modern Zombies has just lowered people's standards so much that any glimmer of even mediocrity gets people excited. It's actually pretty sad. Or they're just kids who don't have the perspective of frame of reference for how good zombies used to be, so they'll accept and love anything they get. So look, the map itself is just okay. I think it's really lame that 2 of the 3 Mark II variants are reused from Black Ops 4. It also seems like the only reason the Wunderwaffe is on this map is because they put themselves in a corner by having it in the Liberty Falls cutscene. It's also really annoying how if somebody gets the free Mark II, they have to pretty much do everything in the main Easter egg because the drop rates for Wonder Weapons in the box in Modern Zombies are hot garbage. I don't think it's really well designed. The cynic in me says that they did this deliberately so that people would spend money on gobblegum packs to get more Wonder Bar gums, but I'll let you decide on that. Boss fight.
I would disagree because I don't think there's any scenario in which me playing the Shattered Veil, because I think at some point I had a Shattered Veil video that I wanted to make, and then I sat there and I was like, I really don't even feel any strong like feelings about it. I enjoyed it on my first couple of times replaying it, except that T-Rex boss. I think that T-Rex boss is like BO6 clunk and jank at its worst. That's real fucking annoying. Sometimes he'll deadass just be glued to you, and it's like you can't do shit about it. Yeah, it could be a skill issue on my part, but it's like, niggas, BO6. I couldn't be fucking bothered to gain the skill in this game.
On this map too is just okay. Like, I get it, it's cool that it's the T-Rex reanimated, right? But like, people get so wrapped up in the concept that they don't even care how it is mechanically, which is pretty meh. You know, it runs around, it chomps a lot. Final phase, it gets really aggressive. It honestly doesn't impress me that much. High value on the spectacle scale, pretty mediocre on the gameplay scale. If it weren't for that dumb Sentinel artifact fight on the tomb, it would be the weakest boss in BO6. Moving on. Another pressing issue is the lack of new content, not just in this map, but also in the season itself is really disappointing. I actually like how BO6 did double tap, except the icon, it's terrible. But honestly, I would have much rather had a completely new perk. I feel the same way about Vulture Raid, even though I like it in BO6. Based on the leaks though, it seems like BO6 isn't going to get any new ammo mods, perks, or field upgrades. It's all going to be reused content that we've already seen before. And I swear to God, if the next map has reused Wonder Weapons, I will drop points for that too, even if the map is good, because there's no excuse at this point. Even Cold War had a new Wonder Weapon on every map. That's the one thing that game did well. So look, Shattered Veil, it's not the second coming of Christ, it's not top 5, not a top 10, not a top 15, and so on. This is a map that I predict will not age well. Just like the maps in Cold War, you hear people go on and on about how great they were, and then you ask them the last time they played it, and it was like 3 years ago. Most of BO6 will suffer the same fate. Not hated, not derided, but forgotten, and in some ways that's worse. This map is a 6.5 out of 10. You'll have fun, but you probably won't feel anything else. Yeah, I don't really think this map is all that remarkable. This map has never really gelled with me all that much. I had way more fun with the other launch maps when this game came out. You know,
Blood of the Dead has not been mentioned yet, which I think is very interesting, and I feel like he's going to put it up above an iconic map, and people are going to lose their fucking shit. That's what I feel like, and I mean, honestly, More power to you.
The ones people pretended to hate. Look where we're at now, guys. Do you regret throwing this game under the bus yet? I would hope so. Anyway, I know a lot of people would have you believe that a map that's literally just a square is somehow simple but brilliant map design, but it's really not. The underground area also really blows. I really dislike the enemy balancing on this map too. You get flooded with catalysts, tigers, and those annoying gladiators. It also feels like past round 20, Blightfathers get spammed every 5 minutes. The wonder weapon on this map is also pretty underwhelming. It's okay for holding Blightfathers in place to down them with another gun, but when it comes to zombies, it does kill them. The problem is, it takes way too long. Really cool concept for a wonder weapon, but it needed a buff to reduce the time it takes to kill hordes. I have no idea why it never got one. It was also really obvious at the time, and now in retrospect. The Easter egg is fine for the most part, but why do they basically round gate it to 15 plus? You can't even use one of the axe guys from the pack trials to get the wood early. Like, it literally won't come off. It's very lame. Not that this map is completely devoid of positives. Treyarch's art team did a great job with this map. Putting the pack strife behind an early challenge reward gives you a decent boost early, even if it leads to people using just it for the entire game. The boss fight with the mammoths, well, easy, is very cinematic and well executed. Opening pack is very simple and intuitive, and one thing I really appreciate is that the free perk side Easter egg on this map is very short and simple, unlike the free perk quests in some of the other maps in BO4. Regardless, I don't find this map very much fun to play these days, and I honestly didn't enjoy it that much at launch. I have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. This is a fun little survival map they repurposed from the prologue. I like the short quest to unlock the mystery box, as well as the second quest to pack all of the guns in it. The Brenner boss fight they snuck in at round 50 is also a nice goal to shoot for. But ultimately, I can't justify putting this map any higher than this, and I can't justify giving this map anything higher than a 7 out of 10.
7 is...
So here's the reality with this
Wow.
map. If you get Jug early, as in within the first 2 machine drops, this map is as good as Town. In some ways, it's better, because you don't have the stupid lava everywhere. There's also more going on in this map. There's 2 music Easter eggs, the eyes turn blue after round 25, and of course the map has the M27, which is not on any other map. I also think the layout is better than Town, although this might be a hot take. However, statistically speaking, because Jug starts as a 1 in 5 chance, your average Nuketown game will have you struggling and getting frustrated with...
I don't think that's really ridiculous. I think Nuketown probably does have, at least to me, way better map flow, because always that center Pack-a-Punch area always felt very clunky to me, and then the not clunky but just very obtuse to navigate. And then along with that, you also have the lava zombies and shit. I don't know their fucking actual name, but like, again, why would you do that, Shark? Literally, why? Like, I get it, it's supposed to be like the Earth did blow up, but like, it just makes every map that features them so fucking annoying to play on. And like, not even like a just PhD fix it, because I don't like it where it's like, oh, we'll buy this one perk to eliminate all issues and all like genuine threat on the map. But it's just, to me, it's just such a fucking miserable experience at times. But that map has Tombstone. I think Tombstone's funny, so...
With the fact that most of your games will force you to go to round 15 plus without Jug. In a game with 2 hit downs, mind you. And it's not fun or an enjoyable challenge, it's just tedious. And while it is improbable, if Jug is the last thing you get in a match, it's very likely you and your team will not make it to that point. People will defend this and happily say, get good, but I think if they just made the simple change to hard-code the machines to guarantee you Jug within the first 2 drops, then this map would probably be looked back on just as fondly, if not more fondly, than Town. It's the perfect example of one seemingly small change totally dragging a map down. I gotta give it a 7 out of 10. Now, I was very quick to dismiss BO1 Kino, and that's because I just think this version is better in pretty much every category. It plays better, looks better, and the alleyway strat is more viable, so I don't need to deal with Nova Crawlers. Even in this game, though, I don't play Kino very often because it's Kino. There's only so much of this map one man can stand. 7 out of 10.
Not ridiculous.
This is yet another map that a not insignificant portion of people believe to either be the worst map ever or the worst Treyarch map ever. I actually think there's quite a few things to enjoy on this map despite the pretty obvious shortcomings. The Easter egg I enjoy, and it rewards you...
I think Rushmore is silly. That's probably the one takeaway I have from Alpha Omegas. I think Rushmore is silly. That's about it. I think I'd rather, also because it just has more content than Nuketown BO2. So there's that too as well. It's just, you gotta play BO4 to get it, and it's like, nah, I don't know if I'm interested in doing all that.
You throughout. The Mark II variants on this map are fun to build, even though one of them is complete garbage. Having 8 different characters on this map with different lines is cool, even if they did skimp a little bit on some of the lines. And unlike Shattered Veil, the Mark II frames allow you to get the variants without having to get the Mark...
And then, like, I gotta think about that too, because like, having all 8, like, both squad variants of Ultimates and Premise was such a cool thing that really did feed into the hype of the next map. Only for Treyarch to be like, this is a one-time thing. It's definitely devastating, even though I'm fine with the way BO4 wrapped everything up. Like, I don't feel any active rage about it. I'm just like, you know, whatever. They did the best they could. Even though me personally, I would have pushed it back. I would have been like, okay, well, I don't know, because then that would have pissed people off. Then BO4 didn't even get factions, but it's like, low-key, factions was not going to save that fucking game anyway, so I don't know why people get stuck up on that, but...
2 out of the box, or the free one. And for Shattered Veil fanboys who are probably 12 years old and never played this map, this is where 2 of the Mark II variants from that map were shamelessly copy-pasted from. I'd also like to point out, the beam ray gun with infinite ammo is not bad at all. There's a misconception that somehow it's bad. You do need to aim for headshots. It does have a headshot multiplier, so if anybody tells you it's bad, they're probably just using it wrong. The damage is pretty good. Side tangent here, however, this map has some pretty obvious flaws. Firstly, the gameplay and the map layout are pretty rough. I hate the Nova Bombers. If you single-handedly remove them, then this map would be 10 slots higher on this ranking. But yeah, they are unbearable. They're like ice catalysts in the Chaos maps on steroids. It's one thing to make the zombies super sprinters, but to make them bullet sponges too? Nah, man, I'm good. And the cramped-ass map layout with enemies this tumor-inducing are very frustrating. Let's also talk about the garbage way you open Pack-a-Punch on this map. You either gotta throw Wraith Fire at your feet, or stop and kill all these dumbass gas zombies that swarm you when you try to do these. And trying to do them mid-round when the game locks Pack for no reason, it's awful. But despite all of that, I find the map quite replayable. The good is pretty good, but the bad is really, really bad on this map. So, if you hate this map, I get it. But for me, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. I also don't even want to give it a score, because I know it's not good, but I like it anyway. So, you know, this is gonna be the one map we don't give a score to, because I just can't bring myself to do it. This one ranks high-ish because there's just kind of a vibe to this version of the map I can't explain. It feels very relaxing to play, actually. Having perks and being able to pack, I still hate that the only way I can pack is through Gobblegums, but if I have to take that bitter pill aside for a second, I find playing this map in this game to be pretty enjoyable. It may be controversial, but I do like the Wonder Fizz machine having all the perks in it on the map. Making it more playable is not bad, at least I don't think it is in this case. It's also a nice touch that there's no character dialogue on this map at all. Undone is still in this version as well, which is a phenomenal instrumental that really puts me in a good headspace when it comes on while I'm playing. The really slow spawns are a double-edged sword though. On one hand, yes, it's like the original map, but also it makes the rounds very, very slow, which depending on who you are can either be a good or a bad thing. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, although this one is probably just a guilty pleasure for me. This map is fine. I'll start with the negatives first. I don't even know why the wonder weapons are in the box on this map. They're so rare, you might as well do the quests anyway. Thundergun quest is also really annoying. You have to do all of the challenges on this map, which takes quite a while, and arguably the Tundra Gun is better anyway. And that quest practically takes no effort. Big misconception though is that the wonder weapons suck. The reality is that they aren't even bad, they're just underwhelming, and people conflate that with them being bad. Regardless though, I do agree, reskinning the Tempest from MP and making an elemental thunder gun on top of having it in the map already was pretty lazy. Also, the music box is pretty useless. This is one case where I would genuinely rather have Wraith Fires. The fact that the hits it takes to break the boxes for the heat pack are dependent on how many players are in the game is just totally stupid. Completely brain dead decision. Small gripe too, but Pablo takes way too long, man. Might sound minor, but it genuinely hurts replay value for me. Lastly, I want to give a special shout out to the Sharpshooter Challenge up at the top of the facility. Doing the solo without Winter's Wail is absolutely painful. Now for the positives. I like how Golden Pack allows you to circumvent BO4's terrible pack mechanic. Like, nobody wants to sit there and pack their gun 5 times, dude. That part of BO4 is genuinely awful. I like the changes to the map layout. They're pretty welcome. It plays pretty good. The lava-filled spectacle during the final step of the Easter egg is great. All in all, the map is well-paced. Easter egg is okay. It has a decent amount of side content, unlike Modern Zombies, and it plays fine, but I really don't find myself coming back to it very often these days. 7 out of 10. This map and another one we're going to talk about a little later have been the only bright spots of Modern Zombies for me. Even despite me saying that though, this map is still just in the mediocre to good range. It falls prey to some pretty uninspired visuals, annoying boss spam, Modern Zombies mechanics, more on those later. And this map is too big for its own good. There's a lot of wasted space. Other than being used for side Easter eggs, you would never want to go to or train on any of these other islands. I'm probably going to be crucified for saying this too, but I think the Beam Smasher is a bit too weak. It's good for camping and that's really it.
Honestly, this gonna be the first time I agree with Henry about a wonder weapon. I always felt that, even though like I get you, like you could do like some fucking reload tech with it. I don't know. Like I've on one hand, he's mentioned it beforehand about laser pistols and about not really messing with those. I don't mess with the beam smasher because I think it feels too derivative of those, and again like it just feels underpowered, especially when you deal with the what was it? It's the fucking not the abomination. Is it the abomination? The fucking pulley thing? I don't remember. I have not touched BO fucking 6 in a long time. I haven't touched it since Shattered Veil came out and I beat it, but I feel like you tone up the beam smash a little bit, this map becomes a little bit more favorable in my eyes. But I enjoy the upgrade process and obtaining this wonder weapon. I just like wish, like Henry had mentioned, that the side islands had more shit to do on them outside of getting the beam smasher. And I think you could do the RC thing, but like outside of those two, and I guess also the golden, the talisman. There's just no reason to ever go there. There's really no reason to ever leave like this, the main fucking island, and especially the upper portion. But I mean, hey,
Switching between the debuff and killing them with the beam is way too slow at health cap, especially when having to dodge super sprinters on top of it. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a good concept for a wonder weapon, and unlike most of BO6 so far, I really appreciate the fact that it's actually a new wonder weapon. My issue is purely with the balancing of it. Despite all that though, I do have a decent time playing this map and doing the Easter egg on it. The boss fight is the biggest highlight of the map, and it's surprisingly good. The Talisman side quest is long, but pretty rewarding. It actually felt like a BO3 or BO4 type side Easter egg, giving you something tangible that you can't get on any other map. I also think it's cool that when you have this on and get a double points, it actually becomes a quad points, which with how expensive everything is in Modern Zombies, it's a very good item. My only gripe is, why is the last step for this all players require? It totally ruins the prospect of ever doing this with randoms. It makes zero sense. Unfortunately though, none of the other side Easter eggs on Terminus really live up to that one other than the Meteor Easter egg. The drop on it is quite good, and more often than not, it will give you a ray gun or a beam smasher. There's a couple free perk Easter eggs, but because there's no perk limit, they aren't really all that useful like they were in BO3 and BO4.
I would say they're still useful, especially when you get like later on into the game and you have to like rebuy your perks. But then they're also, I think they're random from the free perks. I could be wrong on this, but like just man, that shit can really kill you, especially like whenever you would open up like one of the storage containers in the armory and you would just get a perk you already have. That feels like the biggest slap in the fucking face. But not ridiculous. I haven't heard anything that's like really bad.
All in all though, Terminus was fine. I had a prediction before BO6 came out that the game as a whole would be roughly 15 to 20% better than Cold War, and that's about where this map is. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. The Giant, as I previously stated, is this weird middle ground between a remake and a remaster. It really doesn't work as either. The Wonderwaff in BO3 in general is glitchy, they screwed up the vibe of the map, cough cough, snow. The map doesn't play well at all with BO3's crack.
I think especially like I'm glad Henry had mentioned that is because the snow aesthetic on this map feels so out of place, especially when you think about the fact that in Black Ops 3, ironically enough, we have 3 whole snow maps, and I feel like, I don't know, this is just a me thing, but part of the reason I don't mess with the Eisendrache is because of the fact the aesthetic feels so samey to both the Giant and Origins. It feels like a weird middle child in between the two maps, and it's like, I can't get behind that. I just can't. I wish they did fucking anything else. I don't care about the position it takes in the story. I don't care about the time of the month. Those maps all blend together for me. Are actually only Eisendrache blends together because of its position in between those two maps. Just in the, I want to say in the release order of Black Ops 3. Like it doesn't feel like it. Well, I mean, it does have its own identity, but like to me, just visually, when I look at the fucking general vibe of the map, I feel like they all give across the same thing, at least only when you look at the snow and like the kind of winterish aesthetic. But Origins has a mechanic where it's not always snowy, you know, it swaps up, it changes up. So then you're left between the fucking Giant and then Eisendrache, where it's like, why? What purpose?
Crackhead lightning fast zombies, and that trash extra random perk machine Easter egg is an RNG abomination. Why is Deadshot even on this map? Why would you do this? Why is it a 50-50 if I get a great perk?
Why is Deadshot? Why the fuck did it take him over 15 years to make Deadshot a decent perk? We don't talk about that enough. I feel like we don't talk about that enough.
It doesn't make any sense. The Giant at this point is just so whatever. I almost never find myself going back to play this. It's like Diet Chronicles in BO3 because it's a remaster that doesn't have any of the additions the Chronicles maps got. It's only landing this high because it's Durice, and even the worst Durice is still fun to play. 7 out of 10. Had a hard time placing this one. You do have to give it credit for introducing perks and traps, and it is still fun to go back to, but the super sprinters are just annoying. Like, they come in as early as round 8, man. It's absolutely wild. The glitchy iteration of Juggernog in this map, though, with the Mach 10 speed health regen, does help balance the scales somewhat. It lands significantly higher than the BO1 version, though, because of the box weapon. PPSH was first ever seen on this map, and overall, it's way more playable and enjoyable than the original Noct is these days. I don't have anything else to say about it. 7 out of 10. Ascension, similar to Verrucht, was a very innovative map. It had the first main Easter egg quest as we know it today in all of Zombies. It was the first map to have a unique map-altering set piece with launching the rocket. It was the first map to introduce brand new perks. It was the first map to introduce new tactical equipment other than the monkey bombs. So yes, while the Thunder Gun being reused on this map isn't ideal, this map was very integral to where Zombies would go as a mode. An oddity with this map too are the weird dodging zombies that only appear in this version of the map. So I'm putting Ascension here mostly for its importance. Playing it today, however, it's fun, but you do have better options. 7 out of 10.
I think also like I don't know, something that I always think about is how Ascension was like probably had the most visually striking intro to a map in the way that it was all black and white. You got to turn on the power. Like to me, like seeing the color turn on Ascension is one of like my core memories playing Zombies, just because of how like just not different, but how much it stood out to me. It was like, whoa, like that just kind of feeling of something so simple that really just adds to the general vibe of the map.
This map is here because I just love it.
Fuck! My son. Oh damn, dude! I really thought it would have been the Black Ops. Damn. I was wrong. Fuck.
Good memories. First map to have the Wonderwaff, first map with Hellhounds, first map with our characters. Of course, what people know this map for today is having the easiest high rounds in history, which is true. This is solely here as a nostalgia pick. I almost never go back and play this version though, to be quite honest, but it's still good. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Easily the best playing and looking of the Tortured Power.
He has not mentioned Blood of the Dead yet, or the fucking Titanic map. That's actually crazy. Is it really just gonna be because he put those two maps that high that people are gonna be this upset?
Survival maps, it's just a good time. Like the other maps, you have access to most of a game's wonder weapons in the box, and of course you also have access to the sword. Why this map lands so much higher than the others though is the more open space you're allowed, and as previously stated, the quite beautiful environment you're placed in. My only knock on this map would be the sharpshooter minigame to get the pack-a-punch piece to upgrade the melee weapons. It's pretty obnoxious to do solo. Aside from that, this is just a fun, really laid-back survival map. It's a go-to for me when I want to play World War II but can't decide on a map. If you haven't played it, seriously go give it a try. Because it's a survival map though with not a lot extra, I do have to be realistic and give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh shit, here we go again.
As stated previously, I think this is one of the most overrated maps.
Still no Blood of the Dead mentioned? That's crazy.
Of all time. This map absolutely does lack in creativity. Old mechanics are needlessly brought back and done worse, like Beast Mode. It's a downgrade of Afterlife that is worse for new and hardcore players alike. Apparently saying that is a contradiction though, according to dumb people. But regardless, the sword eggs are tedious. Riding the train in general and for the symbols is a boring venture where you sit there and do nothing. The characters are bland, their stories are basically like the mobsters but worse. The setup on this map is bad, the pacing is bad, the rituals are a snooze fest, and the side Easter eggs are awful and pointless. According to some people though, the side Easter eggs being pointless doesn't matter because it just doesn't matter. Nobody explained why that makes sense. They just said it over and over. So it must be true, right? Why is it there if it's pointless? I don't know. I wish I was on the second plane of reality that these people are on to feel that way, but I'm not. However, there are things on this map that are good. The high rounds are fun. The branching path layout, even though it's been done to death, and I think it's kind of lazy here, works. It's a tried and true.
I think it's lazy because your decision, especially for me, whenever I think about playing like casually Shadows of Evil, I'm gonna always attempt because if Waterfront does have that spot in the front, that would make it the most optimal map to, or not optimal position if I remember correctly, to high round in. So Waterfront is almost always gonna be your second pick right after going to doing your first one. So in that case, it would be Canals. I would do Canals or Footlight, then go to Waterfront. Unless I don't care about doing that high round spot, in which case I would just go to Waterfront immediately because BO3 zombies can like make certain areas real annoying to navigate, particularly that section in that ritual room. But it again, if you're playing solo, it's fine. But the moment you involve more people and you got to deal with like different angles that you're getting attacked from, then specifically that one ritual room can become quite fucking annoying. But again, to each your own. I don't really have any, like, I guess, compelling counter argument for why I think Shadows being this low is, like, that crazy. But it's only crazy in the sense that Blood of the Dead has not been mentioned yet. And that's, like, the zombie community considers that map as, like, fucking That shit was the plane hitting the second tower, right? And I think I don't know. I really don't like. For me, Blood of the Dead has, or not Blood of the Dead, Shadows of Evil has almost always been carried on aesthetics and presentation, which to me are some of the most important aesthetics, presentation, and general game feeling. Like the feeling I get playing this game, and I feel like Shadows of Evil for me maxes out all three of those categories, which to me are the most important aspects of playing zombies. The unique HUD, the perk icons. To me, this was the only like map aesthetically I can fully get behind and really enjoy in that BO3 era. But that's what makes the map to me. I think particularly when you go through the Easter egg, like I don't like Easter eggs for like a big sizable portion of it. It's just you setting up, because like if I remember correctly, you set up, everyone has to get their eggs, which can take for fucking ever, especially if you're playing with dog shit people. You gotta get your eggs, then you gotta go get the book. Oh no, you get the fucking eggs, then you spend one round. Like if you did it, I hate when they round gate shit that doesn't need to be round gated. Let me do all my egg steps, like, cause you each have to do 4. So 4 times 4, 16 total fucking instances of me being like, hold on, wait, hold the zombie, we gotta fight the Margwa. And yeah, I know we could all jump them to make it faster, but sometimes like playing through Shadows, if there's one point I'll give to Henry, and I'll agree with him, we can come in the middle ground, is that having to play Shadows and you gotta reset up shit, that is the most aggravating fucking experience over and over again, because the Shadow setup always feels so grating because of the way everything's set up. I think if you want, like, the rituals being time gated, especially on launch, was so fucking miserable. It was so bad. And like, yeah, they did make them shorter, but again, yeah, and then to play it optimally, you have to have everyone in the room, or else you're gonna be spending 30 billion fucking years, because there's that one asshole that's all the way in fucking Bumsville, right? But again, for me, Shadows is carried by aesthetics, presentation, or if you want, that's why I love Shadows. And I feel like a lot of people love Shadows too, but hey, that's just my 2 cents. Probably the most I've ever had to speak on something. But again, I'm gonna need to see what's higher before I think this take is ridiculous, but I'm gonna need to see how he justifies it. But
true formula. Once you get past the boring setup, this map does go into a good flow state, regardless of player count, and being able to flatten the Margos with the Silver Protector is nice. So purely for that gameplay experience, I'm gonna give Shadows a 7 out of 10.
7
Seriously
though. Okay.
overrated map. I can still enjoy it, but you guys really can't take criticism of it. It's pretty funny. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's ironic you telling us that we can't take criticism when you're complaining about what people said about the Black Ops 3 video. It's amazing. I already know what you're going to say because you all are truly a hive mind. Okay, say it with me. This map is not that bad. You feel better? Alright. Voyage has a lot of good qualities. We'll get to the bad in a second, but clearly a lot of love went into making this map, from the side Easter eggs to the details in the environment, to how layered and long the main Easter egg is, to at least having a unique enemy that's only on this map. A bad layout does not make a bad map. I firmly believe that, and don't get me wrong, the layout is horrendous, and there's several problems that arise from.
I've seen a lot of people take this quote and like tie it back to previous placements in this list, and that is true in a vacuum, that a bad layout does not make a bad map. You can have amazing mechanics and amazing aspects of a map that are all held back just because that Treyarch just threw a bunch of shit together. Is there a map that I would say kind of meets that criteria? Would I say Buried has a bad layout? No, I wouldn't say Buried has a bad layout. Fuck, is there a map out there that I think really meets that I really enjoy, even though I don't fuck? I think no, because Barry, once you start, but then in solo you can only carry one trample steam. So, but then that leads to you putting the trample steam on the roof of the the building's gaping me. But you would use that to access the section with, I believe, Speed Cola, so you would have that kind of shortcut. But no, Barry doesn't have a bad layout. Fuck, what example is there that I would say is a map that I think is great, that has a lot of great mechanics that are held back by bad? Would I say Blood of the Dead? No, I don't know. I'm gonna let Henry cook. I'm gonna let him cook.
From that, like not being able to find the box, annoying to learn part locations, things like that. It takes 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 playthroughs just to get your head around how they laid this map out. At least that's how it was for me in 2018, but I do think this map has a lot more good than bad. Firstly, the main Easter egg is replayable, challenging, and I think well designed. It also caps off with a genuinely great boss fight. I don't love the first step, that being the clock puzzle, but the rest of its Easter egg is fantastic and really well paced. The shield upgrade is really goofy and fun to do. The free perk on this map is also really simple and easy to do, and unlike modern zombies, it's actually rewarding to do these. People give the Kraken and its elemental variants a lot of unfair hate as wonder weapons, but I enjoy using them, and the distillation kit allows you to basically have infinite ammo for all 4 variants. That's also why I think the high rounds on this map are pretty enjoyable, all things considered. Voyage was the subject of a hate mob at the time of its release because people took one look at the layout, and on top of the other issues BO4 had, they just said nope. But if you peel back the layers on this map and actually give it a chance, there's a lot to enjoy here. And if you compare it to what we're getting now, for the most part, Voyage looks better and better as time goes on. We're going up to an 8 out of 10. All the maps from this point on are absolutely good maps.
He's gonna say Blood of the Dead is good. Is that Blood of the Dead I see in the transition?
This is another
Oh, never mind.
one that I think is quite underrated, primarily because a lot of people either skipped World War II or only played the Final Reich. But alongside that map, this is one of the other bright spots of World War II zombies. The map itself is quite small, but through the melee weapon...
What's left? We have Spaceland. We have a couple BO1 maps that have not been named. We have a couple of BO2 maps. Not all of BO3, but outside of Shadows, the main core of DLC maps for BO... Oh, actually, no, Revelations was mentioned. Yeah, okay, let's just let him cook.
Quest, they managed to pack a lot of things into it. Unlike Frozen Dawn, the quests here feel appropriately long, and the puzzles are well put together. I always find it satisfying to open the safe for the Switchblade. You actually need to turn the dial left and right like an actual lock. Unlike modern zombies where they baby you and you just input the numbers through a HUD element on your screen, I also think it's a nice touch in the Bat quest where if you give the smuggler a pack-a-punch weapon, he survives. This map isn't perfect though. The boss fight is pretty bad, like really bad. It's a really tedious exercise in patience because the boss in each of his phases has these really annoying damage caps. That basically means the boss will take roughly the same amount of time each time you fight him. This also means in co-op, it's best for one person to deal with the boss and for everyone else to go pound sand and train zombies around. I will give credit though, the blimp is a cool environment and I wish you could go back after the boss fight were finished. This map will also get an 8 out of 10. Once you learn it, it's pretty replayable and fun despite the bad boss fight. I mean, it's Town, you know? We all played this instead.
I'm being real, Town is not... I would not put Town this high. I'm keeping it real. I would put it more in the Nuketown section. I think this map probably, not a bad layout, but a layout I couldn't care for. And because of the fact that it's a survival map, I just don't really have any interest. You played Town because you could not afford the DLC for this game. That's why I played Town back in the day. But once I got the DLC, I didn't play fucking Town anymore.
Because even back in the day, transit was terrible. I'm also rating the grief portion of this map too because
okay,
I
fair.
have so many
that makes
memories
sense.
of knifing
That makes so
people
much
in lava,
sense.
or especially the people who would AFK, you could just kill them right off the rip. The troll potential for the EMPs was endless too. You had to make the choice. Do I EMP Jug in the hopes their team dies faster, or save it for one of them pack-a-punching, or cripple them in some other way? One huge pro for this map in Grief too is that because the map was so confined, you didn't have to worry about zombies spawning in too slowly with 8 players. Like what can happen on Cell Block if people are too far apart. Grief on this map was a pretty good time. Survival-wise, it was a fun playground when BO2 came out, and it feels good to play with friends to this day. This is also the only map where Tombstone actually functions like it should, and you don't have to run across 3 football fields just so it can despawn and be left with nothing.
I mean, that's only true because pre-Cold War, Tombstone was only on this map, if I'm not mistaken. But fair criticism though, but it's only really an issue because it's only on this map in transit.
I'm gonna give Town an 8 out of 10. It's still fun. Go play it.
I'll give it a 7, but...
So here it is. The only, and I mean the...
Why is your name Jews? Why is your...
only good Modern Zombies map. It is still weighed down by Modern Zombies' bad mechanics, i.e. the perk system, the point system, the kill streaks, plating, tac sprint, piss poor implementation of super sprinters, boss spam, spawning in with field upgrades, and whatever gun you want. The list goes on and on. Seriously, I could go on and on.
And it's so funny because the Citadel exists in a time where you would want to prioritize grinding your weapon camos, but even still, as someone who cannot be bothered to do that shit, like if I do it, it's gonna be after BO6 is long done of like receiving content. for me with Citadel is like I think the wonder weapons are fine. I really enjoy them so much, and probably because for Call of Duty games I've always enjoyed melee weapons, like unreasonably so. But I really did enjoy the presence that these swords, like the space they occupy, to the point where I would never even pick up my primary. And part of that is definitely because the primaries in Black Ops 6 for the most part are all poo poo caca for the like. Hey, I think the swords were unique enough. I really do enjoy them. My personal favorite was the Raven sword, or I think that's what it's called. Mostly because when you open that Goku Black Rift, that's hype moments in aura for me. But would I put Citadel this high? Yeah, I think I would. I think it's especially because Vulture's Day comes back in Vulture's Day, and like how it kind of a little bit mitigates some of the issues I have with this game. But generally speaking, I think Citadel's a solid map. Has a pretty fun, probably the only main quest I would say in Black Ops 6 I genuinely enjoy doing, especially when you realize that you can skip certain aspects of it. I believe it's the inputting the code. If you just look at the symbols that are on the pieces of paper and just do that. And then it also has a pretty, I wouldn't say as good as Patient 13, but I just prefer the boss fight in Citadel over Patient 13. If there's anything I will say about modern zombies games, which I think Henry would disagree with me on, is I think that the boss design, like actually fighting them, becomes a lot more involved and less like, oh, it exists. That's how I feel about when you fight the fucking big apothecary. I hate that arena. That arena and like, I promise you, the way Henry feels about Shadows is how I feel about Eisendrache. That you are never gonna sell me on that boss fight. I hate that shit so much. It's but whatever.
Zombies is made for camo grinding Warzone bros who only play it once a month. Which, in my opinion, you should probably make your game for the people who are still going to be playing it years from now, and not the guys who only play it as a minor distraction from the poorly made Battle Royale, only to then get shuffled off to the next horrible COD that comes out that they will also buy overpriced skins in. Anyway, this map is pretty good. I like the swords a lot, the quests are pretty well designed and short, but the scrolls feel like an extension of the sword quests, and they're very rewarding. Unfortunately, the Void Scroll is very bad. I don't even really know what it does, because it doesn't seem to kill zombies. But that's an aside. I absolutely love how the other 3 scrolls delete bosses and respawn pretty quickly. It rewards you by letting you eliminate one of the most cancerous parts of modern zombies, that being the boss spam. The main Easter egg itself does actually feel like a series of puzzles, as opposed to other modern zombies maps where it's basically just go here, do this, try not to be bored. That's the hardest part, by the way. I really like the boss fight in this map. He's super aggressive and the arena looks great, and it's very tight in close quarters. Unfortunately though, around the time this map came out, there was a glitch with Idolize that made the boss stand still, and this plagued public matches. Every time you'd get to the boss, they'd do it because they're so trash they had no hope of killing him any other way. Really annoying. I do have some other gripes though, of course. The map visually is still not there. Other than the boss arena, as I mentioned, the map is really lacking color and life. I don't know what happened to the artists at Treyarch. Most of them are probably long gone. It looks really bland for the most part. An unfortunate modern zombie staple. But this map, quest and Easter egg wise, is clearly different to what we've received in the last 5 years. I know all the kids are in their Shattered Veil hype phase, but when this game is said and done, I think this will be the only map people want to come back to, and for good reason. It's probably a fluke, but it's a welcome fluke from modern zombies. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Especially because all the wonder weapons are new and unique. Challenge Shuffle!
This map is extremely underrated. I think the layout is good, I love the setting, the wonder weapons are phenomenal, the Easter egg is challenging and rewarding, doing Ghosts and Skulls isn't pure cancer, unlike the other IW maps, and I love the music on this map. But there's one kinda sorta huge problem with it. A problem that if it weren't there, this could have been top 10. You know what it is. You all know what it is. It's those goddamn Kung Fu zombies. They are an abomination. They break the flow of the game. They spawn in way too frequently. They're just a nightmare. But I do think there are a lot of other great things on this map. Nunchucks and a katana are on this map as actual wonder weapons and not bad knife reskins. Look, every shot I can take at modern zombies, I will. The Easter egg on this map gets a lot of unfair hate. Yes, there are some bad steps, like following the rat. I've never liked running around the whole map to get the symbols to activate the Morse code phone, but there's a lot in this Easter egg to enjoy as well. First off, it's actually challenging. That will always get points from me. There's actual puzzles in this map, which again, modern zombies putting everything into perspective is amazing. The boss fight and all of the bosses in IW aren't just a straightforward shoot them until they die. There's a good amount of depth with this one. I actually like the heart step. It's a decent challenge, especially in co-op where the timer is really short. The Rat King heart, which you get towards the end of the Easter egg, is really powerful, and it makes the Easter egg worth doing for high rounds. Locking the main wonder weapon behind the Easter egg is something that I'm a little mixed on, but it's no doubt an incredible valuable reward, one that carries over from game to game, although the nunchucks are there too if you don't want to do the main Easter egg, so all in all, I think it's pretty well designed. Buildables on this map too are mostly unique and they're pretty fun. This map is good, but it would be great, maybe even top 10, if it weren't for those goddamn Kung Fu zombies. Still though, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's absolutely worth experiencing if you haven't. This is the last IW map that actually had a budget, and it shows. I think they're
Raven and Redwoods and not Zombies of Spaceland are above this, which I think is very interesting. But I don't know, maybe if there's anything this video might have gaslit me into doing is considering trying these maps beyond Zombies in Spaceland, but hey.
there's a lot to love here. Yet another map where if the wonder weapons were better, it would be higher. While not as innovative as Ascension, it does some pretty cool things. George is the first actual boss zombie we ever got. It introduced Deadshot, which, you know, is a thing. The Easter egg reward is actually good, but more importantly, it carries over from game to game. Making a solo and co-op version of the Easter egg was the first, and I think the last time they ever did anything like it. The VR11 in co-op isn't useless like it is in solo, but in a mode where the main appeal is killing zombies, buffing your teammates so they can kill all the zombies is not very well thought out in my opinion. It makes the game a pretty boring experience. That's why this map might just have some of the worst co-op high rounds ever. Not to mention, there's no aim assist on your teammates, of course, so be prepared to miss some of those valuable shots if they're moving even slightly. Let's talk about the Scavenger. If we're going off of looks, sound, and all-around cool factor, this would be an S-tier wonder weapon. Unfortunately, all those things are pretty misleading when you actually start using it, because it becomes a 2-shot kill in the 30s and quickly falls off after that. Especially when it becomes a 3-shot kill, it feels awful to use, and the ammo just isn't there for it. The one saving grace to this map is the Wunderwaffe, but because it's a weird power-up type thing, there are a lot of limitations to it. I know I'm making this map sound bad, but the round 1 to 30 experience is phenomenal. But past that, it's really not that fun at all. But look, if there's any part of a map to get right, it is the classic round 1 to 30. And of course, the Easter egg is really well put together. It's way more formed than the one on Ascension was. Call of the Dead is getting an 8 out of 10. If the Scavenger just did infinite damage, or you could buff yourself with the VR11, this map would have been an all-timer. It's still a good experience though, and if you haven't played it, you absolutely should. The one map where I don't have to shell out $20 to play as Kevin Smith. You can actually earn him in this map by doing the Easter egg. I think just saying that blew a modern Zombies fan's mind. But seriously, this map has a short Easter egg, 4 elemental bow wonder weapons, that's never been done before, and a 5th secret wonder weapon that shoots saw blades. Wow. What I think Rave does well is pure gameplay. Layout is solid, the island is a great training spot, but as a trade-off, the only thing over there is Pack-a-Punch. The water where the fish trap is located is probably the best training spot. The trap itself is great too, but it only works if you have the frog charm, which gives you full movement speed inside the water. Because you can only put charms on normal guns, that means you can't carry 2 or even 3 crossbows at once if you want to train over there. There's another trade-off. Even though the Easter egg is short, I do think the boss is pretty good. I do also want to give a shout out to the Trap-O-Matic. It's definitely the most creative of the wonder weapons, even though it's the one that everyone seems to hate, because you can't just use it as a panic button when you're trapped, and you actually need to aim with it. So it makes sense that a community filled with people who aren't as good at zombies as they think they are would hate it. However, the Trap-O-Matic, kills to ammo-wise, is actually the best crossbow, because, you guessed it, it can kill more than 24 zombies with one of these laser trap placements. Man, it's just like the Void Bow all over again. Ammo isn't a big issue on this map because there's multiple ways to get ammo, one of those being the rewind grenade, which you can get from one of the trials on the map. Oddly enough, it's right outside spawn and it's extremely easy to do. As mentioned earlier, you can hold multiple crossbows, even 3 at once if you wanted to. So yeah, you're kind of overpowered on this map. And yes, that rewind grenade outside of spawn does make the other door in spawn worthless. This map has some drawbacks, but high rounds are a lot of fun, and the short Easter egg actually works to its benefit. It makes the map pretty replayable. So I'm gonna give Rave an 8 out of 10. Single-handedly, putting the Wunderwaffe and the Mark II on this map changed pretty much everything. The high round strategies, training, camping, you name it. So simple, yet they elevate the entire experience. Monkey bombs being here too is also a positive, even though they were also in the Black Ops 1 version. I have similar feelings to Noct. Making these maps more playable means you'll look at them no differently to other maps, and will want to play them more. Needing Gobblegums to pack, though, is still scummy and pay to win. We'll never not call that out. The zombies in the original Verrucht were already fast, so BO3's crackhead zombies don't feel out of place like they do in the rest of BO3. PPSH is in the box on this map like it was in the original. It's always a highlight when that gun is there, except in modern zombies where it's basically like every other SMG but worse. AATs also make the more campy gameplay on this map more enjoyable. I have a way better time playing this map than I do BO1s or World at Wars, and if you're being honest with yourself, you do too. Verrucht translated really well into BO3, and the visuals on this one are faithful and an all-round improvement. BO3 Verrucht is going to get an 8 out of 10.
not ridiculous. He didn't say anything that I personally wouldn't agree with.
Buried's biggest highlight and standout for me, and why it's this high, is the Easter egg. I think it's the best main Easter egg Treyarch has ever made, and with how bad and misguided Modern Zombies is in its quest design, it probably always will be. The question is, though, which one? There are two, after all. Well, they both have their positives, and quite a few steps overlap, but I have to give it to the Maxis version of this Easter egg. The Wisp step is really a rush, and your teammates need to be training in the right places to get it there. And the bells are a really well put together step. It's exciting and gets everyone involved. Those two steps are the biggest differences, but I also have to shout out the Infinity Round step in the Richtofen Easter egg.
The Infinity Round step, for someone who didn't know a lot about zombies back in the day, always seemed so just genuinely cool and like unique to me. As a like, to really set in that idea of like a never-ending scenario, even though like obviously, you know, it is zombies, but I don't know, just seeing that as like a kid with no context was mind-blowing. But I don't really have a lot of commentary. I think Barry's biggest weakness is just because I don't think just BO2isms, having to pick up each piece individually to build all the buildables. Even though, like, yeah, you can do the power cycling thing where you would drop one and then pick one up and like kind of trail the items. It just makes it really annoying. And then like that gameplay loop of having to continuously grab the fucking turbine to power all your buildables, which I think really because the head chopper goes. So it's just a subsurface resonator, but I don't know. I have fond memories of camping with the subsurface. I think Buried for me might be a top 10, maybe 5. But hey, Blood of the Dead is yet to appear though, so
really intriguing and fun step where everybody's running around checking bodies while trying not to die. Of course, the thing that caps this Easter egg off, regardless of the side you're doing, is the sharpshooter step. It's really simple, but it's a great way to end an Easter egg. And of course, there's always one guy in your team who can't hit them all, and you end up sitting there shooting targets for over an hour. But again, it incorporates all 4 people, and it's satisfying as hell to do. People complain about 4-player required Easter eggs, but it is implemented perfectly here.
4-player required Easter egg. 4-player required Easter eggs for me are not a problem if it accurately utilizes and tests all 4 players and isn't like how it is in Shadows of Evil where it's only an arbitrary requirement at the last fucking step. That shit sucks. But whenever it's not like that, I'm fine with it.
Everybody has something to do for most of it, and the coordination required makes it an enjoyable experience for everybody. 4-player Easter eggs are not the problem, it's how they're handled. Look no further than Buried. Now for the rest of the map, for me, it's just okay for the most part. Vulture Raid is a great and creative perk, even though it is overpowered. The Paralyzer is cool for flying around, that's a great feature, but the rest of it I find kinda meh. Layout-wise, buildable-wise, and wonder weapon-wise, this is a pretty campy map. Not really my preferred way to play zombies. I don't think training on this map is even viable, at least I don't know of any good spots for it. The Super Easter Egg is cool, but the rewards for it are only for that game, and it resets your entire team's Easter egg progress on all the Victus maps, which is extremely lame. It even resets the nav card tables, which is horrendous. So look, if I wasn't counting the Easter egg, this map would probably be in the middle of the list, but I love it so much I have to give it fair credit. A great main quest can really lift a map on its shoulders. That's why Buried gets an 8 out of 10. Another remaster that's better than the original in every conceivable way, other than the issues BO3 has, like cancerous microtransactions and crackhead zombies, but everything else is better here. In fact, those cancerous microtransactions are actually countered by the map itself. Those incredible monkeys will take most
Oh yeah, because then when the monkeys pull up and then they would just start jacking your fucking perks, you just can't do shit about that. Which is always going to end with me having to pick between Jug and fucking Quick Revive and be like, hey, you know, especially in older games, I would have the money to buy them back anyway, so it's not like it would make that much of a difference.
The Scrub's perks if he pops a Perkaholic. It is truly beautiful to witness. Some of them hate it so much that they play this map as a no power challenge. Those monkeys scare them so much they won't even turn on power. I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that. Jokes aside, BO3 Ascension is fun. It's a good, laid-back kind of map to just enjoy. A weird quirk is that there's a Wonder Fizz on this map, but there's only 2 perks in it, Deadshot and Double Tap, and the monkeys can't steal either one. A weird rule in Chronicles, other than on Origins, is that if the perk has a machine on the map, it's not in the Wonder Fizz. Ascension is a classic. It's even better here, enough said, 8 out of 10. Now, I said it earlier, I love Shino Numa. This is by far and away the best version of it. Being able to slide through most of the water and completely bypass it feels great. Makes the map play way better. Just like the other World at War maps in BO3, being able to pack a punch and the Mark II being here are just awesome quality of life additions. PPSH is on this map too, have to call it out. I just love playing it. The training is fun, camping in the huts is fun, especially in co-op where people can watch the windows. Shino Numa to me is just quintessential zombies. 8 out of 10. I don't think I really need to explain this one, but I'll try. Other than some of the jank, like zombies sucking you in when they hit you, this map has aged extremely well. It introduced Pack-a-Punch, the layout is
I don't know
great.
about y'all, but Doris, especially at night, always felt like a summer map to me. Like a summer at night. I don't know. I could be smoking straight crack on this one, but I don't know.
The trap placements are flawless. The guns are still so fun to use. The atmosphere is unmatched, and this is where the zombie storyline really took off. However, there's one issue with this map that's not the zombies having black hole grabs. It's the Wonder Waft causing your health to not regenerate. It's a really well-known bug, or maybe feature. It doesn't do this in Shino Numa, so there's really no way to know. It doesn't ruin Doris by any means. There's still traps that you can use to get to high rounds, but it's an unfortunate stain on this map in my opinion. Even the World at War version, though, is an all-time classic and is still a lot of fun to go back to. But Waft Glitch included, I have to give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh shit. Here we go
Is
again.
blood?
This map barely cracks the top
Ooh.
15 because even though I think it's pretty overrated, it is replayable. And as I stated in that coveted BO3 video, it is a pale imitation of Origins. But it succeeds far more in that than Shadows does as a pale imitation of Mob of the Dead. The bow quests are well designed and very replayable, even if the dragon heads, baffling door placement, and poorly placed dog rounds kill the pacing. The main Easter egg is also replayable, despite the wisp step being a time waste step specifically designed to waste time and be obnoxious. The snow aesthetic fits this map far more than the giant, and even though the map is pretty gray, there's still quite a lot of color here. Take notes, modern zombies. And the high rounds are pretty fun, even if the Panzer on this map sucks complete ass. See, with every positive, there's some kind of drawback. Apparently, none of those things matter though, because they're nitpicks. Try to figure that one out for me, I still have no idea. Regardless, the map is good. There, I said it. If you want more detail on why this isn't the greatest map of all time though, BO3 video. Link in the description. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Now this is what the Giant should have been. This is 5 in a completely
He's about to say Blood of the Dead is a top 10 map.
different context.
There's
with
no
new
way.
areas. Adding Area 51 from Moon is great, and the mini quest to clear all the debris is satisfying and fun to do. The Winter's Howl was buffed. No longer is it completely worthless. They doubled the fire rate and tripled the ammo. Because BO4 has a health cap, it eventually becomes a 4-shot kill forever. I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's a great wonder weapon or anything, but on this map, it's perfectly usable at high rounds, and paired with the Mark II, it's a pretty nice combo. Sure, people were sad about not having the Pentagon Thief, but he was a pretty small part of the original map, and I really don't feel like that much is gone with his absence, especially because the bonfire sale is still on this map. Replacing him with dogs does sting though, because they're a problem across all of BO4 Ether. I guess they just didn't have enough money to make special enemies, so it's dogs on every map. I really hate it. The round 150 cutscene was a good idea in theory, but because the game was so broken, you couldn't actually get the cutscene legitimately for months. There was a glitch, however, to play the map in custom mutations with everything enabled, so that the cutscene would play normally. Classified is great. It's really the only survival-esque map in BO4, and it actually changes 5 in mostly positive ways. It's a perfect example of how to remake a classic map that people really didn't enjoy. I love playing it. I still play it to this day. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Classified is pretty great. It may be Origins, but worse, but it's still Origins, so it lands here almost by default. You may wonder,
To each your
why
own.
is this
To
version
each your
worse?
own.
Well, first off, the staffs were nerfed across the board. The fire rate is lower on all of them, and the charge times are also longer for all of them. Fire staff got a damage nerf. No idea why. Probably an oversight. All the fun glitches were patched.
So funny because Fire Staff wasn't even the best staff. It wasn't even the one egregiously strong staff too.
The holding multiple staffs glitch, getting the Panzer stuck, skipping the robot head step with the fire staff, elemental knife, and oh yeah, that elemental part, there are no elemental punches in this map at all. It just upgrades your punch to do slightly more damage for that step in the Easter egg now, which is peak laziness. Also, fun fact, Widow's Wine breaks the punches in this version, and half the time you try to use them, they just won't do damage. It is awful. Anyway, if you're gonna remaster a map, go all out and do it right, for God's sakes. You're telling me BO3 Ascension, just for one map, you can remake the Sickle and the Matryoshka dolls, but you can't do the elemental punches or the spike moors for Shangri-La? It's like a bad joke, it really is. Also, the Panzer in this version is pure trash. They broke him completely. Killing him with normal bullet guns when he spawns in now on round 8 is pure hell. I think they accidentally broke his headshot multiplier. It's like it doesn't even exist now. To be clear though, it isn't all worse in this version. There are some small touches I appreciate, like how the Tommy gun is now a wall buy at the bottom of the mound. The golden helmet is actually modeled on your character. You can hold 3 G-strikes instead of only having 2 like in the original map. That's pretty much all I got. It's still Origins, even if it is worse, so I'm gonna give it an 8.
I would say for those changes, for me, it completely kills Origins. It makes me like especially with the BO3 features and mechanics, there's no reason why I would ever want to play Origins when BO2 is readily available. But that's just me though. That's literally just me.
0.5.
This is like the one thing I fully disagree
This map
with.
is really special for
He's
a lot
gonna
of
say
reasons. This
Blood
where
is
the
top
original
10.
storyline was cracked open, and it has tons of great moments. Opening the MPD, Richtofen switching souls with Sam, blowing up the Earth, of course. This was also the era of zombies where the maps themselves were playgrounds for Treyarch to experiment. The hacker allows you to flip game mechanics on their head. The QED does things in this map people didn't think were possible in zombies. The wave gun transforming and being two guns in one is another example. No Man's Land was also really unique and caught everyone off guard when they first loaded into the map. It was a very different kind of experience compared to everything else that had come out up to that point. Every challenge this map throws at you can easily be circumvented. There's a lot of great training spots on this map with and without the spacesuit. Being able to hack wall buys as well makes the BO1 guns feel a lot better with free ammo, basically. The layout is pretty good, and this map plays pretty well with 4 people. There is a cool glitch in this version where you can duplicate the hacker. It's actually really easy to do. It's kind of nice when everybody can stop the excavators. Not everything here is great, though. All 4 people needing to be on the pad to go back to Earth sucks. It's the same problem as Shangri-La, but thankfully not as bad here because if your teammates die, you can use the teleporter, thank God. The glitch with the Gersh device where the Moon Man runs at you is absolutely terrible, and I don't know how that didn't get patched. The randomness in the Easter egg has always been a sticking point with this map. You can either get this entire Easter egg done in 20 minutes, or you can be there for hours waiting for the Tunnel 6 drill or hitting the box. Regardless, Moon is a really important map. A lot of what was done in Black Ops 2 would not have been possible without this map pushing those boundaries. It's a map that I can always go back to. That's why I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now this map right here, is why I enjoyed Black Ops 4's launch despite the problems. Now that doesn't mean I don't have issues with this map, but a majority of the things people complain about are blown way out of proportion. Let's start with the Easter egg, the number one thing people complain about. My criticism of the Easter egg is not the Morse code. That's actually really easy. I don't know what the hell people are talking about with that. It's literally just 2 digits you need to punch in, and it takes no effort. It's not the bird step. He's actually pretty easy to listen for and spot, even if you don't know the locations. It's not even having to shield blast this ghost dude like 20 times, because if you know where the sparking box is to get a full shield charge, you can do this entire step by yourself, even in a 4-player game if you've upgraded your shield. It also isn't the Simon Says that, well, long and punishing isn't really that bad if you know what you're doing. My main criticism of the Easter egg is really just that it's too long. I think in an effort to up production value, they put way too many steps in this Easter egg. If one of the challenge orbs were cut, then it would roughly be BO3 Easter egg length, and honestly, I wouldn't really have any issues with it. There are parts of this Easter egg that, to me, are quite enjoyable, and the challenge of it plays a pretty big part in that. People also like to complain about the Hell's Redeemer being pointless, but you can get more kills per second with the Redeemer, especially with time slip in the modifier, than you can with Wraithfires. So yes, it is an upgrade, and it's pretty good in this map. Although I will concede the quest to get the Redeemer is really not great. Having to find the random ghost dog on a dog round is pure agony, and I absolutely hate it. I'd also like to point out the dog head placements in this map are still better than Der Eisendrache, because hey, these areas are actually pretty tight and hard to train in. Who would have guessed? The Magmagat, at least on classic difficulty, is a good wonder weapon. It complements the Redeemer really well. You shoot it, and the zombies that still come at you can easily be cleaned up by chucking it out there. One criticism I do agree with, though, is that the map is too big, and that feeds into a pretty annoying pack system. It could have...
And the fast travel is like super fucking slow and like very, very just fucking annoying. But I don't know. Do I agree? I don't think I'm putting Blood in my top 10, but I think a lot of the hate this map received was just low-key overblown. I really do enjoy upgrading the Magmagat. Just that step where you gotta run back and like maintain the fire. I don't know. I feel like that's a cool way to get me to actually return back to it's a great way of incentivizing me to run across the entire map and like kind of feel that tension a little bit, even though there are ways you can like kind of, once you get it down to like a T, you don't really feel that pressure anymore. But it's like that step, and it reminds me of the fire upgrade sword thingy mabobby, because that step, like I just like having that little bit of anxiety, that little bit of pain, and be like, hey, you gotta lock in. If you don't lock in, you gotta do the whole shit over again. But
easily been solved by simply just telling you where it is. I have no idea how that got past playtesting. A disappointment I share as well is the fact that the Golden Gate Bridge is not in this map, and it wasn't even used for the final boss. It's a real bummer. But look, I like this map quite a lot. I don't think it ruins the legacy of Mob of the Dead in any way. The people who unironically say that are total clowns. I like the setup. I think the catwalk...
Especially because Mob of the Dead still exists. You can still fucking go play it. Like, but again, Henry made this point about Knocked, and it's like I don't agree with either. I think the original version still exists. You can still go back and play it. So it's like, I don't know, shrug. But again, this is
Is
his
awesome and
opinion.
a great way to get points if you play it smart. Unpopular opinion as well, but the shield replacing Afterlife is perfectly fine to me, and I don't have an issue with it.
It's not that fucking bad. It's literally like the shield, at least to me, because it feels unique. I like that it feels different. Like, you do have the little shield gun that I believe it was an IX, but that shit always felt like ass to me. But I don't know. I really did enjoy like the gimmick of running around with like a kind of like the what's the one item in Majora, or not Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, the Mask of Lens of Truth, where you would kind of like put it on and like be able to see secret shit. Like, I don't know, whenever games do that, I get really invested in that, and I think it's really cool, and I think it's a good alternative to like having our characters have like some afterlife type of experience. Obviously they can't, go into afterlife, but I think that was great. I low key, if you would have gave these crying ass people in the community, if you would put the bridge on the fucking map in some way, shape, or form, I feel like people would be more forgiving of this map. But
It's pretty powerful too, and it can even revive teammates. And whether you like it or not, it's definitely one of the most unique shields we ever got. The Mark II being added to this map later on as well made it even better. I flat out really like this map, and unlike Alpha Omega, there are no qualifiers to that. I think it's straight up a good map, and I really don't get why people were let down by it. Blood of the Dead is getting a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
You'll get
fuck.
a Hell's Redeemer, a Magmagat, and a Mark II, and get to a high round and try to tell me this map sucks. I couldn't imagine still thinking that afterwards. Even taking the Easter egg out of it, I always have a good time on this map. The bones of Mob make the layout good, and I honestly like everything they added. The hate for this map seems so forced to me. I guess BO4's launch broke people's brains, and they just can't look at anything in this game objectively. It's really strange.
I would say that's true
This
for the
is
most
the
part.
best Duris. It may seem out of left field with how lackluster I think the other BO1 remasters are, but
I mean, you gotta imagine it has the same charm of World at War. It doesn't have that same glitch, so it's like already like we're cooking now.
this one is different. Compared to World at War, the Wonderoff does not take your jug. Some of the BO1 box guns are actually welcome here, like the crossbow, ballistic knife, etc., etc. But unlike BO3, all of the World at War guns are on the wall. It doesn't have BO3's crackhead zombies, and it doesn't have World at War's glitchy zombies that suck you in when they hit you. It feels normal. Quick Revive, of course, also works in solo. It has all of the quality of life features with none of the annoying things in BO3. Duris is one of the maps that, even though it's basic, it's infinitely replayable to me. So the best version of Duris had to rank this high. It's just the law. 9 out of 10. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to stand on a soapbox and wax poetic about how underrated World War II Zombies is. As you've seen so far in this list, it's a very colossal hit-or-miss kind of game. This map, though, it's pretty good. Great, even. When World War II came out, some balancing issues that would be fixed later aside, people thought we'd be in for a great year off the back of mostly this map alone.
That is true. I remember the hype around this, and you know what? I probably would agree with Henry that I would take this map over Eisendrache, just simply because. But then this map also, I feel like, but it has that imagery. I feel like it has the imagery and it stands out because it's got like World War II just being a dark-ish and like I guess gritty-ish kind of game.
Alone. It has a cool atmosphere, great wonder weapons, really well made Easter egg that has 2 versions, great and difficult character challenges. It's a pretty great start for the story too. It sets up a lot of questions and brings out genuine intrigue. And unlike what Treyarch has done with the story since Black Ops 3, it isn't cringe. But there are downsides to this map. There kinda has to be, right? Starting off, charging the Reaper battery sucks, just completely. The bombers aren't the issue, it's the trash saw blade trap that feels really inconsistent. It's not hard to do, it can just be really frustrating. The jump scare zombies are also spammed way too much in this map. They were actually fixed in later maps to where they're extremely rare, but they were left unchanged in this map for whatever reason. The only difference with the hardcore version of the boss fight is the length of time the boss is gone after each phase. It doesn't make it any more difficult, it really only serves to waste time. No idea why they did that. Those things are pretty minor though, but they do irritate me. This map isn't very big either, and I don't think the layout is amazing. With that being said though, I'm still gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The things I said were mostly just small annoyances. The replay value here is just way too high. This map should have been the lifeline BO4 needed, but unfortunately there was so much bad will in the community by that point. People didn't even give it a chance.
I don't know, because I remember a lot of people were very happy that Ancient Evil and they celebrated, but I think a lot of it was because a lot of people had that big focus on the Aether storyline and how that shit was just fucking Ether was fucking flopping and like just not going anywhere that the people wanted it to outside of like the lore guys. But again, I think I do agree with that notion that BO4's really rocky launch of having like I think probably one of the worst launches in the sense that it completely swayed the community to be against this game from super like not even BL6 had people mad this fucking early, which I think is crazy. But I would say maybe at some point I could think that retroactively, people can be more forgiving in this game, the same way that people are retroactively more forgiving of BO2. But maybe that's because BO2, like, its last 3 maps were all great, where we got decent maps to close out BO4. But I don't know. I would have to come back to this game and play it on PC, not play it on like a dog shit fucking PS4 controller. But
Not saying the hate wasn't justified, the game wasn't functional for 6 months, fair enough, but this map is pretty special. It is a beautiful looking map filled with tons of detail and historical references. This map also has an incredible shield. It may not be the most effective necessarily, but it's a lot of fun. The 4 gauntlets all feel distinct, and their upgrade quests are very simple. The Pegasus Strike is probably the most overpowered special grenade they've ever made, in a good way. The main Easter egg is one of the best Easter eggs they've ever made, and the boss fight is one of the best boss fights they've ever made. This was also the map where trials were introduced. The entire system verbatim would be shamelessly copy-pasted into Cold War, but honestly, it works way better in this map. The rewards here actually matter, and it isn't just a glorified wonder weapon dispenser for bad players who don't want to build them. You can get self-revives, free perks, a copy of the Pegasus Strike if somebody has already built it, etc., etc. They're worth doing, even late into the game. Sadly, we do have to talk about negatives now. One big flaw in this map, it's that damn horse ride to get to the second half of the map being all players required. In fact, it's one of the strictest all players required there is, because if somebody is dead, or even if all of your teammates are and you try to do it, you cannot take the horse ride. It is bafflingly stupid. Makes this map, unfortunately, a nightmare to play with randoms. A broader issue, though, too, is that the map is really light on content. Other than the main Easter egg and the second gauntlet upgrade, which most people don't do, by the way, there is not much else to do in this map. You run out of things pretty quick. It's short and sweet, but I do have to deduct a bit because, yeah, pretty much everything here is good, but there really isn't enough here. It seems like on some level they ran out of time and they decided to cut down on side Easter eggs to get everything else done. It paid off, but I really would have liked it if it had both. This map as an experience, though, is still top tier. It is the best BO4 has to offer, and it is the closest this game got to making me interested in the Chaos story. So it deserves credit for that, because before this map came out, I genuinely thought that would have been impossible. Ancient Evil is a great map, and it's better to leave me wanting more than wanting less, so for that, it still deserves a 9 out of 10. It should go without saying, but Mob of the Dead is a map that completely reinvented zombies and pushed it in a direction that, yes, was divisive.
We're getting not predictable, but like, you know, nothing too crazy here. I think a lot of the outrage might have just simply been because of his thoughts on BO3, which is crazy because we still have Zetsubou and Gorod left. His thoughts on, because what's left? Zetsubou, Gorod, Origins. Zetsubou, Gorod, Origins. What is left? I feel like I'm blanking. Fuck. We've already talked about all the World at War maps. Oh, Zombies in Spaceland hasn't been mentioned yet. Okay.
But it felt like a proper evolution. It wasn't changing things that didn't need to be changed. It wasn't betraying the legacy of the mode. It was adding on to it. While that journey with this map style was bumpy as it would go forward, it was a much needed second wind for Zombies that carried it forward for years afterwards. While this map isn't as replayable for me as it used to be, it's paced extremely well. The perk placements, especially Jug, are perfect. The setup remains engaging and interesting throughout, and the set piece of flying the plane and crashing into the Golden Gate Bridge is one of the most memorable sequences in all of Zombies. It's a map that you can't go wrong with. It holds up extremely well, and for its significance, it had to be up here on the list. It's a very respectable 9 out of 10. This map managed to set itself apart by not rehashing Mob of the Dead and Origins again, and what a surprise, it's a really great and ambitious map. Now granted, this is a very quest-heavy map, to the point where even if you simply wanted to get the skull and upgrade the Wonder Weapon to high round, by that point you might as well do the whole Easter egg, because you'd be like 75% of the way through.
That is true.
That's why even though I love this map, it's not one you can play every day, or after a long game of it, you can just jump right back in and want to play it again. It's a special occasion kind of a map, and that's why I couldn't put it any higher. But when that occasion does come around, it's a really great experience, and everything flows really well together. It's not perfect. All 4 players having to do their trials is annoying, and some of the trials themselves are RNG dependent or kind of suck to do in general. That's a pretty small issue for me though, and if your teammates are decent, it really doesn't matter. People complain about Thrashers, but honestly, if they're spawning in constantly for you, that's kind of your fault. Just shoot the spores, dude. It's not that bad. And you have weapons to delete them, like the Marshals, which are incredible in this map and are a lot of fun to use. People also love to complain about the map being glitchy, but that only really existed when it came out on PS4. In the nearly 9 years that this map has been out, and even right after it came out on Xbox, I haven't experienced any major...
That is true. I've never really run into a big bug on Zetsubou. I think that portion about all 4 players needing to do their trials for me is what kind of dampens. I'm stuttering. I'm so tired. But dampens this map for me because during my time period of attempting to replay BO3, for a lot of the maps, what it really consisted of was me playing the map, getting the bare necessities of the map, continuously practicing it over, and doing the whole Easter egg solo up until a point where I would get near the end and I'm like, yo, everybody hop on so we can wrap this up. So for Zetsubou, that shit was miserable. That experience. Now Zetsubou was the one where I was the one solo grinding. I had one of my friends who had done it beforehand, and like we were bouncing off of each other, constantly referring to the Steam guide. Zetsubou like has some interesting things. I like the plants. The plants are different enough, and I like that you have options to kind of I'm gonna say not decide what you want, but I just like that idea of like having different waters that you have to mix into it. I think that's cool. Being able to have like a self revive from the plant, I think that's actually like really fucking cool. Zetsubou has a lot of really cool things. I like the aesthetic. I like the imagery. I especially love Takeo's portion of this in that intro cutscene. I feel like that hits way harder to me than anything else present within the BO3 storyline, because I don't fuck with that shit either. But I think it's just held back by like just being so quest heavy. Like at a certain point, I think it's like what Henriette said. You hit a point when you're playing zombies where you're like, I don't like, especially after a bad run. You're like, I don't want to fucking play this shit no more. And that's true for this. And I think to an extent, all of BO3 for me is I would run into that. I would hit a point while setting up, and I'm like, I don't want to play this shit no fucking more. Especially on this map in Revelations. Oh my fucking god. But again, to each your own.
Glitches. That's just a dumb talking point that is somehow echoed throughout the ages. Makes no sense. Spiderbait is probably the best side Easter egg they've ever made. You actually need to progress really far into the map and earn this one, unlike the mutant injection, which has pretty much ruined BO6 high round, so that's cool. Anyways, Zetsubou is incredible. There's no other map like it, and there's really no major flaws in it for me. It's gonna get the first 10 out of 10. Everything it sets out to do from a design standpoint, it succeeds in. Gorod Krovi was a pretty big departure from how Black Ops 3 had been up to that point. A lot of the zombies was only good in World at War and BO1 types dislike bombed the trailer to this map before it came out because of the fantasy elements. Those pretty much just being the dragons, the quest-heavy nature of BO3, and I guess Nikolai's mech suit.
And you know what? Something I'll give Gorod, if I remember correctly, this is the only map to not have that apothecary fuckery in it, and I've always been a very devout hater of the apothecary imagery, like the HP Lovecraftian bullshit that infested BO3. So I'll always give Gorod some credit for not leading into it. I wish we could have more strictly fantasy or strictly science fiction with like hints of fantasy, but the fantasy inclusions are just really cool shit, like the fucking dragon. I think that shit is phenomenal. I think it really adds to the map. I really do. I think my only issues, I think the boss fight is kind of whatever. And is that my only issue? I like the trophy system. I like how getting the lockdowns can be pretty annoying, but I mean that's just whatever, right? It's just an aspect of the map. And the Valkyries, they can be just like moderately annoying, but outside of that, I think I think Gorod is an all around solid map. Oh, and the Mark IIIs, I'm not a fan of those. I think they were an interesting gimmick, but like especially when you take into account, I don't know if it's still in the game, but how it used to have that bug of making an invisible zombie. But then you have cool shit like the Gauntlet of Siegfried. You got the little dragon drone you can send out, and like shit like that. Gorod has a bunch of cool shit, and I never really thought about the fact that because it has all this cool shit is part of because it doesn't set out and wants to be a different origins for the fucking upteenth time. So that's definitely fair. I would say Gorod is a easy 10.
In fact, you can still see those dislikes on the GK trailer to this day. That hate ended up being pretty ironic, because GK is the most BO1-esque map in the game and is totally different from Zetsubou. That map also fed into people feeling like zombies in BO3 was overcomplicated. Of course, just like we saw with Infinite Warfare, most of the people who spammed those dislikes never ended up playing the map, because if they had, they would have quickly realized that GK is a fantastic map. The Easter egg, even for gum-chewing scrubs, can still be difficult, hence why a lot of them still complain about it to this day, but I find it extremely fun and replayable. The permanent perks are also the best Easter egg reward in Black Ops 3. The layout is really well balanced. Even the good training spots can be hard to execute and learn to do properly. The Mark III, while it does cap out in the 60s, can still be useful for high rounds due to the slowing effect. The shield is probably the best shield they've ever made and is arguably
shield
the
is
real
fire.
wonder weapon on this map. But
Really?
there are a few problems for me that hold it back from being top 3. First off, the gauntlet has some design flaws, but more importantly, past round 70, it has a high chance of crashing your game. A bug that was reported at the time, but never fixed. The valve step to start the Easter egg is poorly designed. You shouldn't need external sources just to start the Easter egg. That's not great. Honestly though, those are my only real issues I have with this map. Everything else is great, and even the issues with the Mark III not killing and the gauntlet crashes.
I would say the Mangler escort can be real fucking annoying, and the Valkyrie one. Like those two, I just don't like escort missions in these games, especially if it's like the whole gimmick is like, yeah, I'm on fucking 1 HP and shit, or not 1 HP, but like just due to the nature, and especially when you start doing it in the high rounds, which is a bit of a skill issue on my end, I don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy it, and they always take me out of the map. They always take me out of the map more than the fucking bomb step, and I feel like maybe that's just a different thing on my end, but whatever.
Don't matter if you just plan to go to round 50. Just like with Call of the Dead, the early round experience here is pretty much perfect. GK, to me, is truly the best of Black Ops 3. It's going to get a 10 out of 10. Faults with Black Ops 3 aside, it's truly a great map. It's actually a huge red flag for me when people say they hate this map. My immediate thought is usually, well, they must be bad at zombies. And more often than not, when I end up playing with them, that suspicion is proven correct. This is the single best thing post-2010 lawsuit Infinity Ward has made. The original MW3, I don't even count because Sledgehammer made most of that game. Granted, that's not really saying much because they now make not just some of the worst COD games ever, but some of the worst shooters I've ever played. I've pretty much lost all hope that COD will ever be good again, in large part thanks to Infinity Ward. What a garbage studio, at least now. But even in the Infinite Warfare era, this was a different time for Infinity Ward. A lot of the Neversoft developers were still there, most notably Lee Ross and Brian Bright, who were the heads of Extinction and would be the heads of Infinite Warfare Zombies. Now, I bring all this up because many of you may not realize that this map and some of the other IW maps use a lot of Extinction assets, all of which work to this map's benefit. The ammo types, all from Extinction. Exquisite, too, is just Cryptid Slayer ammo. Their experience with Extinction really influenced this map as well. The layout of this map is fantastic. The two currencies, the tokens, and the tickets work really well, unlike the two types of salvage in Cold War. The Wonder Weapon quests are exactly the right level of depth and challenge. The Easter egg is simple and short, but the alien boss fight in Simon Says make up for it by being fairly challenging, especially with 4 players. It's pure chaos. The Easter egg being short and simple also works to the map's benefit, because it isn't as frustrating to die to the boss. The bonus epilogue ending you can get by playing as Willard was really well handled as well. It was a good ending to a game which at this point will never get a sequel, unfortunately. It is also fitting that Infinite Warfare Zombies started on Spaceland and ended on Spaceland. This map is a blast to play and learn. Completing the sticker pack is pretty enjoyable, and thankfully Ghosts and Skulls on this map isn't pure cancer to do, and it coincides with the main Easter egg pretty nicely. The one flaw with this map though, and I can see why they did it, but locking double Pack-a-Punch behind the main Easter egg was a bummer. It was mitigated by Director's Cut, but when I go back to IW now, I really don't like playing with Director's Cut anymore, but it's a pill I'll swallow if I have to double Pack-a-Punch. Spaceland and the Final Reich proved that other developers can make zombies better than Treyarch can in most cases, if given the resources and green light to do it. This map alone is worth the price of admission for Infinite Warfare, although the campaign in IW is pretty good too. Spaceland pretty easily gets a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a map that no matter who you are, you can get a lot out of it.
Alright, wildcard pick that I was
BO3
expecting.
Moon is excellent. It fixes pretty much every issue the BO1 version had. Guns, unlike BO1, do damage past round 25. The Moon Man doesn't punch out when you throw a Gersh. In fact, the Moon Man isn't even an issue because 4 of the 5 AATs one-shot him when they activate. Zero gravity is toned down. No longer will you go into a sprint and randomly be flung into a horde. This map got what I can describe as a visual overhaul. It's now extremely colorful and vibrant. In my opinion, if you do a side-by-side, this is the best looking map in Chronicles, hands down. Another thing I love is that through the map itself, it also fixes the issues BO3 has. If I get the hacker, I don't have to worry about some glue-eating invalid on my team giving me a perk I don't want. The RK5 Super Easter Egg reward is phenomenal on this map because of No Man's Land. You can easily get 5k points, whatever perk there is.
I don't think I've got it on. Oh, what the fuck? I muted the video on actually. I don't think I've even opened Moon since I got my RK5. But that is true. I think the No Man's Land mechanic for me is something that I like a lot because it sets Moon apart and it makes it so much. That rush of like starting off Moon, especially in a solo game, like, okay, well, I'm gonna grind out. I'm gonna be able to make sure I got enough money to get Jug. Make sure I got enough money to get Pack-a-Punch, my damn Mustang and Sally. Again, my biggest thing about BO3, if that shit had PhD, I would look more fondly on the game so that way I can use the explosives in that game because I like it when I can utilize all of them. You can say skill issue. I'm gonna tell you, I don't give a fuck. But if I feel like Well, because Moon kind of so spacious, you low-key could get away with not having PhD. I can respect this pick. I can respect it.
Of course, you could also be lame and do all of that with pay-to-win microtransactions, but that aside, it really makes a lackluster reward great. Those are just a couple examples. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's perfect. The QEDs were neutered in this version. Half of the effects from it were removed, and the Easter egg is still pretty RNG heavy. But honestly, those are the only issues I have. It's a blast to play, and all of the other pros from BO1 Moon are still here. I'm always down to play this map. It's one of the best maps in BO3, and it's just a touched-up remaster with some quality of life improvements. I know that's going to trigger some people. I hope it does. I love BO3 Moon. We'll never not love BO3 Moon. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Let's also get this out of the way right here at the end. Chronicles was a great DLC. I can't believe I even need to say that in 2025, but unfortunately, it's become a pretty common talking point to say that all the BO3 remasters were worse than the originals, and it has absolutely no basis in reality. Shang and Origins are worse, absolutely, but even those vary in quality. Shang, absolutely awful. I mean, just leave it at that. But Origins did have some nice additions, even though they made some pretty terrible decisions, and there are bugs and oversights that were unique to BO3. But everything else in that DLC, as I've tried to advocate for in this list, were good to great for the most part. Moon made its number 2 because it was already a good map, and it's so much better to play in BO3. And if you watch that 3-hour behemoth of a video, you'll know that I have no bias when it comes to BO3. It is far from a perfect game, but Moon was elevated to a great map. I think Chronicles tries its best and succeeds to make the maps a better experience. The Mark II and Double Tap 2 being on all those maps alone is a massive standout. On top of those, there are some classic weapons in the box. The PPSH being on Varukht and Chino Numa like it was in the originals was a great touch. Some of the classic wall weapons being there is great too. The Chronicles hate is just weird. I'll never understand it. It could just be cope for Modern Zombies fans. I really don't know. I had to slip this little rant in here at the end because it's just so weird. Chronicles is a phenomenal DLC. Origins being number 1 may seem like conventional wisdom, but the things I've always loved about this map might be things that people don't consciously recognize. This map is basically the first real Black Ops 3 map on a better engine with better weapons. It also doesn't commit the sins of Black Ops 3 maps. Origins has a lot of variety, great pacing, good and well-telegraphed environmental hazards, a lot of great rewards, tons of skill expression, even through simple things like getting all 3 of the lightning staff pieces on the tank ride by yourself, reviving people across the map with the revive stick, getting around fast in the mud with the Mark II of the Boomhilda. This map too, as mentioned, has great
that specific part, the Mark II and the Boomhilda, especially when they brought back the fucking Mark II and Shattered Veil, and they took away that knockback capability, straight up killed any interest I had in playing that fucking map. You don't get it. You don't get it. Being able to do cool shit on Origins is why I fuck with that map so heavy. And especially that summer I spent, or not that summer, that whole period during e-school where I would get on, 8 get on. I wasn't even going to my fucking class. I was up at 6 a.m., right? Class started at 7. You know what I'm doing? I'm grinding fucking Origins. Absolute cinema. Absolute fucking cinema.
From getting out of the trenches, turning on the generators, getting staff pieces, you're always doing something and have something in mind. Which is why popping a shopping free in Black Ops 3 pretty much kills the entire map progression and is extremely
that is true.
Obnoxious.
The best case you can make against the Gobblegums in Black Ops 3 and killing map progression is specifically with Origins, because Origins is the most locked in you have to be for the first 10 rounds. Up until when the Panzer drops down out of the Fortnite battle bus onto the island, that is probably the most locked in I ever feel in zombies, because it's that feeling of anxiety, especially if it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get the staffs. I might as well get the ice staff. Fuck, it didn't rain twice. We're not gonna get it. Okay, well, what staff can I get? Okay, well, let's go ahead and get the lightning one. Let's go ahead and start that upgrade process. Let's get the wind one, whatever, right? Having to have all those things and deciding what am I gonna do, how am I gonna move accordingly, and then knowing at the back of my head that Panther's gonna come, and if I'm not ready to get his ass, I'm going back to the loading screen. Usually, I hate maps with winded up, like, huge, like, sections that, like, particularly with Shadows of Evil, where you spend a lot of that map, like, setting up and shit, and then you, like, whenever you get, like, bullshitted in that game, you die, you're like, fuck, I don't want to ever do this again. But with Origins, that has always been the appeal. Once you climb through that fucking Panzer fight, the rest of the map is smooth sailing for the most part, right? You can do, it's like that, like, when you crawl, when you first run your first mile, and now you're like, okay, well, I've run my first mile, not gonna do another one. Not gonna do another one. That feeling you get after that round 8 shit, which I think is an experience that I feel like is missing from a lot of zombies experiences, especially in modern zombies. That feeling, that rush you get of just knowing, hey, this threat is looming around the corner, and you have to respect the Panzer. Like, I know, like, once you get skilled enough at the game, right, you can get away with doing some bullshit, but, like, when you are in that intermediate stage, you have to respect the Panzer. He has that reach. He's gonna pull you in. He's gonna blow the fuck out of you. But if you lock in and you prepare yourself correctly, you can circumvent that and you can bring the fight to him and like sucker punch him and shit. Chef's kiss. Phenomenal. I know people don't like the Templar zombies, but to me, it's supposed to. You can ignore them like straight up. Yeah, if you're trying to go through the Easter egg, that could be annoying. But like straight up, if you're that confident, you could just leave them the fuck alone. Like whatever. And hey, if you deal with them, I do believe. I don't remember how it exactly works, but you do get a max ammo out of it. So it's like, might as well. It's weird because like Origins has like that. Like I know a lot of people love the RNG mixture into this. The only step that I kind of like low key aggravates me is whenever the robots will come. Specifically, that step in solo where you need him to be in the right position so you can throw the fucking G-Strike. Even though I'm pretty sure that you can probably maybe finagle it, whatever, however you say it, by using your positioning skills along with the Boom Hilda. Like you maybe like some speedrunner could probably show you how to do it. But I mean, from a casual perspective, right, which is what I'm acknowledging this video as, and someone who enjoys zombies more than your average Joe Schmo multiplayer fan, but as someone who knows enough about the lore, might be just be average gameplay skill wise. Origins, to me, that feeling, that endorphin rush you get, like I try to convince myself that playing modern zombies is fine, but then I think about, okay, well, like that Origins experience with like having to properly manage my points so I can make sure I got everything open. So like by the time that snow comes back in, the snow, I have as much as the map open and I can access all of the mounds or the dig sites I need to get that ice staff. Like those is that decision making you have to make, and that's something I've always loved about zombies is like having to sit there and be like, I got so many different things to do. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna go about doing it? Am I gonna like be like, fuck it, I'm gonna hyperfixate and focus on getting my Thunder Fist done? Am I gonna go after the G strikes? Okay, let's go get the Maxes shown. That's what Origins is probably the only quest-based map that I would ever lose on super deep into, and then be like, fuck it, run it back. But that's just me though. Maybe I'm the weirdo. I'm probably am the weirdo.
Thankfully, I don't need to worry about that here. This version of the map is also home to some really iconic glitches that improve the map to be entirely
Fire
honest.
staff glitch.
Skip in the Easter egg to avoid having to put all the staffs in the robots makes the Easter egg flow way better. Getting the Panzer stuck in the trenches is also a classic. Being able to hold 2 or even 3 staffs at once, well broken, was really fun to do. And of course, the Elemental Knife was also extremely fun.
Phenomenal.
That far into the
Sensational.
Easter egg, it made it worth a damn. I should point
Sensational.
out as well that this version also has elemental punches, and they all have different stats, something that, as previously mentioned, was ruined in the Black Ops 3.
Sensational yet again.
The KSG, the Scorpion, the Ballista, and the Scar are all featured in this map, and only in this map. They're all fun to use and give you a reason to hit the box. Also, the box guns in this map that are wall weapons have attachments on them, so the feeling you'd get when you get a wall weapon out of the box and be disappointed was completely eliminated here. This may have been Treyarch experimenting with the idea of weapon kits before they did it in BO3, but something like this would have been a way better approach going forward, and it's great.
And then you have the way you get the alternate, getting more perks by having to utilize the zombie's blood and like know the drops and have to properly navigate the map. Like, oh fuck, chef's kiss. They were cooking. Why did they not do this ever again?
In this map. Between the new weapons, the Mark II, the great wall buys in the box on this map actually serves a purpose, unlike, say, Der Eisendrache, and of course, BO3 Origins. This map is perfect to me. It has everything I want in a zombies map. 10 out of 10. I have to reiterate, too, if I haven't already, that we will never, and I mean never, get another zombies map like this again. The people making zombies now do not want this, and by proxy, if you love maps like Origins, they do not want you. The priorities for COD as a franchise now are so far from what I grew up playing that I firmly believe there will never be another golden era, not even close. This level of detail we see in BO2, BO3, BO4, we will never see again. The guys who make the blockouts of the maps now don't even talk to the team at Treyarch who's making the rest of the content. Is it any wonder why environments suck now and they're all bland and have no color, central theme, or soul in them whatsoever? I said at the end of the Black Ops 3 video that Black Ops 6 was their last chance. Well, they had the field goal all lined up for them to score, and instead what happened is they went for it, missed the ball entirely, and kicked themselves in the head. The game is barely better than Cold War and even does things worse, like the garbage armor plating system shamelessly brought in from Warzone with no thought put into it whatsoever. So for me, I really don't care about this franchise anymore. Campaigns are awful, pandering, nostalgic tripe that don't hold a candle to those in the original Modern Warfare trilogy or Treyarch's original trilogy with World at War, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 2. Multiplayer is a hamster wheel with horrible maps and mechanics, rigged matchmaking, and tries to imitate a formula that was great over a decade ago and is now completely played out. Zombies is now a pale extension of Warzone, solely designed as a camo grinding simulator to get those Warzone bros to buy the game for $70 or get a Game Pass subscription. It's a dumpster fire, and it will continue to be as long as people keep falling falling for it and buying this perpetual train wreck of a franchise year after year. I haven't spent money on Game Pass in over 4 years. I get it for free, and I did not buy BO6. I would encourage all of you to do the same going forward. This isn't a call to arms in some grandiose boycott. I'm just telling you to stop buying, playing, and fueling through bundle purchases bad games that have no hope of ever being decent. For the good of us all, please. Anyway, that's it. I already know the first comments are going to be...
Okay. I've seen this part of the video because this is what I had sent to me. Let's let's talk about this. So let's talk about the elephant in the room in regards to that damn video. I left it up because I don't care, right? I think we were like shit posting, and I was like, let me go ahead and make this as content because I was like, this might be funny, this might be entertaining. Some people enjoyed it based off the fact that some people thought it was hilarious. I mean, Henry loves to bring it up, and fucking CJ's Discord server, and like, I don't know, it feels weird because like this video kind of dissuaded me from ever wanting to like talk about zombies in a serious manner, probably because of the direction that my channel went. Because I listen, I know my audience. I know y'all like watching me talk about that blue bitch, that blue hedgehog, and shit. Even though I'd love to like talk about different as you know, I grew up with zombies. I have quite a few thoughts I would love to get off, but like for this being a video that we were watching around, and again, the thing about this was to give more context is that I had personally already skimmed through certain parts, or not skimmed through. I'd watch a lot of it, but you know, this is I think pre-Lex bullshit. So like, no, it was post. I remember I'd watched certain portions of it, and like before I had decided to pull up and was like, yo, let's watch it. Like this might be funny. I gotta see. I still think a lot of the shit I said in the video, specifically about the criticisms about shadows, of like whenever I believe Henry brought up the point of you know, this is a unique Half-Life, did this 20 years ago, and it's like I don't like that point. I'd never liked that point. I feel like it's such a fucking cop-out. It's like well, I mean, yeah, they had cars in the fucking 50s. Who gives a shit that a Tesla exists? That's what it feels like to me. That might not be the greatest analogy ever. I don't really care, but a lot of this video, and like I thought about taking it down, but it's like I don't care enough to do so. Like I've always been fully transparent of like whenever like, hey, if I post something that is like bad or ass and they cooking me, I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna get cooked. Like whatever. Like this. Like I got thick skin. Like you. I mean, I'm fucking black. Like I can't be on the internet if I'm not used to somebody throwing the slur around. Okay, I grew up playing these fucking games. I grew up playing Call of Duty, so it's like on one hand I get that. But I think after this there was supposed to be a conversation, because I remember this. I was gonna initially make a response, and then that got put on the back burner because I had a banger video, that Class 09 one. That was the Lord. That Class 09 video that came out the day after this one, that is my most viewed video on this channel, was literally we played the I think it was the re-up, not the re-up, the flip side, because it was coming out, and it was about to come out, and I was like, hey, this is gonna be our content. We're gonna watch. And then that thing happened, and then I got sidetracked because I was like, okay, well, the YouTube gods decided to give me a banger, so it's like now I gotta like pump out content and figure out what I'm gonna do, and I'm still figuring out what I want to do. So will I ever return and make that like my own thoughts and opinions on BO3? Maybe, but then the problem is that it's not clear throughout the video, but a lot of what Henry was saying was like, I wouldn't word it the way he did, but I think on a fundamental level, I agree, especially with us, the microtransaction section. I literally do not have an argument for it. I was like, you know what? I don't use gums. I think it's dumb that they exist, but I mean, what am I going to do? I think a lot of what he says in this video, and I know he points out that we did skip that section, but it was like, I'd already watched that on my own. And I've come back to this video to like, you know, think about how my stance on it and like how I chose to articulate myself. But like, that's the thing when it's like having conversations with people, and that's part of the reason why that debate never happened, is that at that time I had like a bunch of shit pop off, and I was like, low key, am I really gonna do I care about Black Ops 3 enough to sit in somebody's Discord server and like entertain a conversation about a game? Like, is it really that serious? And I was like, nah. Mr. Game Design, he was like, nah. And we kind of went about our lives, and we didn't really think back to this video until I got fucking pinged. And like I would get like YouTube notifications that people are commenting on this video. I'm like, why the fuck? I think it's at 500 views, which is like for this channel is like objectively like the lower. Like, damn, don't nobody want to watch this shit, right? But I don't know. I'm not. I guess to ramble because I don't really got anything else to say besides. I'm not sorry. You know, I think maybe if like we sat down and had like a well articulated response of like, hey, let's pick this apart piece by piece, because a lot of that was like knee-jerk reactions. I mean, if someone comes up to you and they're like, yeah, this shit is dog shit, and especially the way that Henry was wording it, because a lot of it was CJ was presenting it, and I've watched CJ stuff for a while now. It was ever since he first appeared on Lex's channel. I've been aware of CJ's existence and been watching his content. So especially like having CJ like speaking this is like a fucking if a white dude came up on here and decided to recite a video of me and I just started saying nigga 18 times over. It's like, why is that white dude saying nigga? But that analogy, but I mean, yeah. I think again a lot of this blowback, because I think the problem is I think who the fuck is this? Henry? Mr. Gamers, I need to see it. Thank you. Have no issues, to be clear. Oh, okay, cool. His ass, I think I showed him and I was like, yo, I got pinged, and then he was like, man, whatever. But again, you know, criticism's criticism. We take it on the chin and keep going. But I mean, other than that, was this list really that bad? Oh, I forgot it's numbered. It's numbered. Okay. Was this list really that bad? No. Nah. Because that's the thing, is that I always respect somebody who can go against the grain a little bit and like put shit in unconventional like orders. I don't know a single person who has Moon, BO3 Moon in their top 5. And I gotta respect somebody for standing against the grain and be like, no, I actually like I like Blood of the Dead. Blood of the Dead is not that bad. Y'all was tweaking. But I don't know. I do not know. I want you to have Henry make his own list. Yeah, I think the decision to have Henry talk over this, right? And to have like truly feel like this is Henry's product instead of CJ presenting it. So I'm like, CJ, you stupid bitch. I can be like, Henry, you stupid piece of shit. But yeah, I think that's how I feel. I don't think there was anything in here that I was like egregious. I was like, there was an eyebrow raise being Blood of the Dead. Again, a lot of this could be because I don't have that much of experience of the non-Treyarch game. So unfortunately, a lot of this video is low key me just like being like, yeah, I don't have the stats, the credentials to really challenge this opinion, but I do think it's very interesting that like only the first 20 or so entries are like in that legitimately garbage tier, which I think is interesting because like especially watching that BO3 video, because I feel like Henry did a way better job like articulating his thoughts, because I feel like a lot of that BO3 video came across as super pessimistic. You could argue, well, because you didn't sit down like hand by hand analyze each and every part of the video. And I was like, I'm not fucking doing that shit, dude. But again, I think it's weird though, because I know he mentions wanting to be opposed by like people who actually genuinely fucking care for Black Ops 3, but I feel like with the way Henry has articulated and like presented himself, I don't think I could even come up with a compelling counter argument. Like when I had for that shadow section where I was like, for me, aesthetics is one of the most important parts of a zombies map, especially in this modern age. And I feel like aesthetics, vibe, ors, or fucking I hate that word, but or for what that map sets out to accomplish, and for me feeling like I'm exactly in the time period that map takes place, that is why I rank that map so high to me, because that is like one of the best aspects of it. But again, from a gameplay standpoint, it's like, well, what counter argument do I have? You think the layout is bad? What argument that I have that the layout is good? Like the fake multiple choice route, when at the end of the day you got to go through all of them. The train ride being slow as shit. Like I don't got a counter argument. I really don't. It's just a matter of preference, which I feel like that line of thinking is why I don't have like that same issue with a bunch of the placements on this list. Outside of, oh, Blood of the Dead is that high? I mean, low-key, because I've always low-key messed with Blood of the Dead, but you know, like, shit, during 2018, you could probably say you were unironically racist and get less pushback than saying you like Blood of the Dead. I don't know. Classified 2 is like a map that I don't really feel strongly about. I don't know. I feel like I would have to replay some of the more classic maps to really like I get that feeling. If there's anything I think is probably a little bit too high, I think Town's the only one where I'm like, all right, buddy. But I don't know. I think part maybe I'm glazing because this list is unique to an extent, right? It is unique. I don't think I've seen anyone with like this exact same top 10 ever, which is a first, especially for a franchise like Call of Duty Zombies, where like a lot of people are locked in. They know their favorites. But I don't know. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. This shit has been going on for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think I've proven definitively that I watched the video through, even though like there is segments of me not talking. I'm not gonna edit any of that shit because I'm like, hey, we're gonna be fully transparent. I'm gonna be like, hey, I watched the video. These are my thoughts. Overall, I think it's a solid lineup, solid ranking. If I made my own ranking, I don't know if it would look anywhere near this. And I like that Henry was like outright, like, this is just personal bias. Straight up. Barry, if I take out the Easter egg, would be ranked lower. But because Barry's Easter egg is so great and sets it apart from other maps, that's why it's right here. I think I made a point that I cut out the video, but I'm gonna try to articulate on it is I like when people could just be upfront and like, yeah, this is bias. I'm not gonna sit here and like feign objectivality. It's like I like Die Rise because I have memories of trolling people on Die Rise. That's why Die Rise is this high. Yeah, I fuck with that more. Like I don't care. For me, I've never really cared about the notion of like what is objectively, right? You gotta sit there and like psychoanalyze. No, like tell me your preferences, tell me your biases. I never had that super strong attachment to Mob of the Dead, so maybe that's why I'm like more forgiving on Blood of the Dead. It's like, yeah, it was alright. It was like y'all act like this shit. Like you walked in on your dad in the cuck chair and you're watching Blood of the Dead give your mom BBL. You walking in, fuck your mom raw. Like what association? Especially like for me when I think about the storyline, I think it's probably the single most emotional emotional cutscene. Like outside of maybe the ending, like I give Blood of the Dead a lot of points back, and like I like what the map represents to an extent, right? A lot of the symbolism that carries over, I believe. Don't ask me to start talking about it because like I gotta refamiliarize myself with that shit. But overall, I think this is a well put together video. It is presented better. Henry's tone doesn't feel like he's talking shit to you. As like you like this, you feel bad, you need to kill yourself or something like that. But yeah, overall great video. Will I ever make that BO3 video? Probably fucking. I think I have a higher chance because I feel like I have more interesting things to say about BO6 than I have with 3. Because 3 is like everyone's like got their rocks off about it, where 6 is about to wrap up, and it's like I don't know, but we done here. It's already like I literally I look so tired. I got the rings around my eyes. I literally came home, got off work, and I was like, I'm gonna record this, and that's what I'm gonna do. That's the first thing I'm gonna do when I get home. I ate, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, but we're done. Thank fucking Christ. Yeah, good video here. You can get the where is it? You can get the like of approval. Don't look at my YouTube numbers. That shit looks. I've not uploaded in like 5 days, but. Yeah, we out of here. Yeah, good eats. I didn't even have food. I was straight locked in watching this. You can even make the argument because on my second monitor, it is like I can prove this. I can literally prove this. On my second monitor, it is nothing but OBS. So I watched this all the way through locked in. But hey, that was a video. We done. I'm finna go to. Nah, I got like 3 more videos to make. Oh my fuck my life. Okay, so I should be good to go. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Is included in this. That also means every version of maps that have been created, all the studios.
We gonna put the face cam right here. I think this makes sense.
I'm not some fake fan who's gonna do a Treyarch only ranking. Those are extremely lame. I've played pretty much everything that's come out, for better or worse. I've done every Easter egg, most of them solo. The criteria for which I rank a map is pretty much whatever I want it to be, except story, unless I feel the need to mention it. The main zombie storyline pretty much lost me after Black.
Okay, so we got basically no ground rules. He said no ground rules is very interesting because I think at this point then it's just straight personal preference, which I think is a pretty fine criteria for a list. I don't really like when people like have to come up with like superficial reasons for why they mess with something and they don't like something else. I don't know, like when people would try to explain to me like why they would like, let's say, shit like they'll be like, okay, well, I don't know, Noct, right? Noct is better than fucking Noct is better than Town Black Ops 2. And they're talking to me about shit that don't matter. It's like, oh, well, the playable characters and like shit that, you know, kind of does matter a little bit, but they make it to where it's like a deciding factor of the map. And it's like, I don't, nigga, the unnamed soldiers at World at War are like, well, you gotta respect Noct because, you know, it was the first map, and that's a bad example. Holy shit.